Good morning, everyone. It's 9:01. I'm expecting Steven to walk in his orange suit any moment here.
I had to get my soda.
Heather, are you on the line?
I was surprised.
Yeah. Okay.
Sunglasses. Good morning. You got the T-shirt, huh?
Orange.
We were all gonna wear orange in honor of you today, but I guess the long weekend, I don't know.
Orange.
How did you not own orange?
They're just bright and beautiful. Nuts.
I guess unless he puts it on later.
Just make it a good day to be on the hot seat because you're going to be in a good mood.
I was in a better mood last week
Yeah, right?
before we had 3 days of meetings.
I know. Okay, so it is...
I hope that was streamed.
It was.
Excellent.
Okay, it's 9:03, so let's go ahead and start with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, I will read our ethics statement. Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest. The appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of this advisory board. Does any member of the advisory board know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us at this meeting?
I will recuse myself from the Douglas renewal, not Douglas, South Brunswick renewal, and the application for Wilmington Arts.
Great. Thank you. Please note that for the record. Also, if during the course of the meeting you become aware of any potential or apparent conflict of interest or any actual or apparent, please bring the matter to my attention. It will be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on the matter. The mission statement of the Charter Schools Advisory Board. The Charter School Advisory Board works to ensure the existence of high-quality charter schools in North Carolina. At this time, I'd like us to just take a moment to look at the agenda and go ahead and we're going to start formally approving the agenda. So are there any recommendations or changes to the agenda recommended by those here today? All right. Hearing none, I'll take a motion for approving the agenda.
I make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, great. So it's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor of approving our agenda for today? Aye. Great. At this time, we'll review the December minutes and hear any discussion on the minutes.
We approve.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of the December minutes approval?
Aye.
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 Great. Okay, at this time we'll hear from Ms. Shonda Cooper, our OCS.
She is either stuck in the elevator or on her way up, so
Okay.
she'll be here in just a few minutes.
Okay.
I apologize.
Okay, great. How about those tires?
Alex, may I ask a question about
Yep.
renewals?
Yes.
The ones who did not have their audits in last time, are those being approved?
I believe we may postpone a vote on the ones that do not have their audits in.
Okay.
I believe that was discussed.
I think there's two that we're holding, right?
Yep. I think we have two rolling. Y'all, as we look at the agenda today, and given that we have a 3-day meeting, I'm gonna work really hard to make sure that we stay on time and that we end right at 4 so that we're not dragging on past 4. It's a long couple, 3 days, so hopefully we'll end on time to give you some time to refresh. We have a lot to cover in the next couple days. So we have a 4 o'clock adjournment today and tomorrow, and then 12:30 and lunch provided on Wednesday.
Chairman Quigley, Dr. Allen can go over the overview on the applications at this time if you want.
Yeah, that's
moving.
fine.
Wait a minute, I've got it.
That's fine.
Have an info session on Wednesday.
Chair Quigley, Vice Chair Walker, Committee Co-Chair Kakadelis, and all respective members of the board, good morning.
Morning.
Today I'm going to provide to you your monthly update of the 2018 charter school application cycle. Specifically, I will cover the 2018 applications timeline and process, and today I will note one particular point of interest. I will outline the applicant groups appearing before you this month for clarification and full interviews. I will propose a set of applicant groups to appear before you next month for clarification, and finally, I will leave time for any questions or closing remarks. As you know, this board recommended a timeline and process which was approved by the state board in May of last year. At this month's meeting, you will interview 10 applicant groups, all of which have requested an accelerated open. Today, I want to take a brief moment to remind this board of what was recommended to the state board regarding accelerations. As you see here, this board stated, 1, that any applicant being considered for fast track replication or acceleration would receive a priority review, which we have done, and 2, should an applicant apply for fast track replication or acceleration and not meet the criteria in the established policy, the group will be considered for the 2020-2021 opening. Please keep this in mind today as you deliberate and vote on recommendations to send to the state board. In order to adhere to the guidelines recommended by this board and approved by the state board, the CSAB will need to make 2 decisions for each accelerated applicant that appears before you this month. 1, do they meet the criteria for an accelerated open, and I have provided for you the state board policy around acceleration, and 2, should they be forwarded to the Ready to Open process and recommended for approval by the state board. The Office of Charter Schools recommends that the CSAB make 1 motion for each group containing 2 clauses. Either 1, that the applicant meets the standard for an accelerated open and should be forwarded to Ready to Open. 2, that the applicant does not meet the standard for an accelerated open, but should be forwarded to Ready to Open on the 2020-2021 timeline. Or 3, that the applicant does not meet the standard for an accelerated open and should not be forwarded to Ready to Open. Any applicant, are there any questions?
No, that sounds right.
Any applicant who does not meet the standard for an accelerated open but is recommended for Ready to Open will have their recommendation sent to the state board in May with the rest of our non-accelerated applicants for final approval. In the coming weeks, we will begin discussions on the recommended timeline and process for the 2019 application cycle. If this board desires to make changes to the timeline and process for the next application round, OCS staff is prepared to make recommended changes and bring those before the CSAB for a vote before sending them to the State Board for final approval. Are there any other questions or comments?
Do we have a copy of the acceleration policy?
It's
It's in our book.
it's this right here. So it's probably there behind your computer.
I think it's called Planning Year Ready to Open. It's not titled Acceleration.
Yeah, it's Roman numeral 2 of that.
You'll remember that clarification is an opportunity up to 30 minutes in length for applicants to clarify aspects of the application. This review is conducted at the committee level and led by either the committee chair or CSAB Chair Alex Quigley. Those assignments are outlined for you on the agenda. I will remind the board of suggested time limits prior to the clarification interviews that will take place this afternoon. On December 18th, the Office of Charter Schools notified 6 groups that they would be appearing before you for clarification this month. On January 7th, we released clarification rubrics to those applicants, and any documentation that was submitted by Friday at 5 p.m. has been uploaded to eBoard. This month, the Policy Committee will conduct clarification interviews for North Raleigh Charter Academy, Wendell Falls Charter Academy, and Achievement Charter Academy. North Raleigh and Wendell Falls are both requesting replication and planning to partner with Charter Schools USA. The current board operates Cardinal Charter in Cary. Last year, they were approved to open Cardinal Charter West under the fast track replication process, but they relinquished that charter due to zoning and facility issues. Achievement Charter is a repeat applicant from last year. The Performance Committee will conduct clarification interviews for Bermuda Run STEM Academy, Doral Academy of North Carolina, and Power Elite Preparatory Academy. Bermuda Run STEM Academy applied last year as Clemens STEM. Doral Incorporated is a management company out of Florida that applied for Doral Academy Wake in 2016. They are requesting a replication of Doral Academy Elementary and Doral Academy of Technology in Doral, Florida. The Office of Charter Schools is proposing 7 applicant groups to come before you for clarification next month. Carolina Experimental School, Huntersville Charter High School, Triumph Charter Academy, Piedmont Career Academy, Leadership Academy of Wayne, Griffin Leadership Academy, and CE Academy. Any applicant group with an asterisk is a repeat applicant from last year. As you see on this slide, the Policy Committee will review Carolina Experimental School, Leadership Academy of Wayne, CE Academy, and Griffin Leadership Academy. And the Performance Committee will review Huntersville Charter, Triumph Charter, and Piedmont Career Academy. This brings us to the full interviews that will take place today. I will present an overview of information of each applicant to the CSAB, not to exceed 2 minutes. Applicant groups will give introductions, not to exceed 3 minutes. All members associated with the proposed school will line up at the podium and introduce themselves in the order outlined below. Board members, name, occupation, and role they will play at the school if approved. Third-party vendors, same format. All parties present will be directed to have a seat in the designated area and remain silent unless addressed. Anyone speaking must speak into the podium, at the podium, into the microphone. No additional information will be passed out at the interview if not provided in the online application system. The CSAB will conduct an interview and make recommendations, and this is not to exceed 1 hour. The specific breakdown is as follows. The CSAB will discuss the application and comments from evaluators at length, up to 20 minutes. They will ask questions of the party present, up to 20 minutes. They will deliberate questions, up to 10 minutes, and then make a recommendation, up to 5 minutes. I will provide written notification of the recommendation via the online application system in 3 to 5 business days.
You make it sound so mean when you said all that.
Sorry.
Dr. Allen, could you repeat the timestamps, please?
Absolutely. So I will give an overview of each group, 2 minutes. The applicants will line up at the podium and give introductions, up to 3 minutes. You all will review and discuss the rubrics up to 20 minutes. If you have questions for the applicants, you have up to 20 minutes to do that. Then finally, you will have up to 10 minutes to deliberate, and then up to 5 minutes to make your final recommendation.
And it's up to us if we want to move right into questioning the applicant, correct?
This is entirely up to you. Any other questions? I'm sorry. Okay. On December 19th, 10 schools were notified of their full interview opportunity at the January CSAB meeting. Interview rubrics were released to applicants on January 7th. Any letters of absence or additional documentation submitted through the online portal has been uploaded to eBoard, and all full interview groups are requesting acceleration. As you see here, these are the 10 groups who will be appearing before you for a full interview today. Clara Science Academy, Mena Charter School of Lee County, Revolution Academy, Hobgood Charter, CFA Community Public Charter, Wilmington School of the Arts, Pocosin Innovative Charter, Robert J. Brown Leadership, Elaine Riddick Charter, and Lighthouse Charter. February interviews will depend upon the clarification recommendations that you all make at this month's meeting. So those are to be determined. And finally, are there any questions or closing remarks for me? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. Before we get started with Ms. Cooper, I want to take a moment to introduce our newest board member. Bruce Friend has joined us officially today. We're so excited to have him on the board. He's replacing the illustrious Mr. Mamoni, who it's kind of a twofer. We get to keep Mr. Mamoni as well. And we add Mr. Friend, so welcome. And do you think you could share a little, just briefly, with the board about your brief bio? I know we all saw it, but just share a little bit about your background.
Sure. I guess the first sense of that would be I could never replace Mr. Mamoni. So, but
you get a vote and he doesn't.
Yeah,
right. True.
Actually, you can. So.
Well, thank you for that, and it's a pleasure to be here today, and look forward to serving on the board. I've been in education. I'll keep it brief. In my entire career, I've been a middle and high school teacher, high school principal. Worked with different state departments of ed, including in this building for a short stint. I've got involved in the charter school world about 5 or 6 years ago. I've helped co-author several charter school applications. I've actually been on the other side of the podium here and been in those front rows before. And I'm currently the board chair of a charter school in Holly Springs at Pine Springs Preparatory Academy, and we're in our second year of operation.
Great. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
You joined at a good time. We got lots of work to do.
Good morning, distinguished members of the board. Thank you for your time today. So today I will go over the final renewal recommendations based on the guidelines with you for the 2019 renewal schools. Thank you for indulging me. I will share closer to the end of the meeting that there has been some changes even over the weekend. I want to give you the most up-to-date information. So therefore, the presentation has been amended and everything is ready to go. I'm just going to go straight through and say 10-year, 7-year, 5-year, 3-year in the for the sake of time. And if you have additional questions, please feel free to ask. So within the 10-year guideline placement, we have American Renaissance, Anderson Creek Academy, Cardinal Charter, Envision Science Academy, Evergreen Community School, Greensboro Academy, Invest Collegiate Imagine, Quest Academy, Raleigh Charter High School, South Brunswick Charter, the Franklin School of Innovation, Thomas Jefferson Academy, Vance Charter School, Wake Forest Charter School, Wilson Preparatory Academy, and Research Triangle Charter. 7-year guideline placements: Forsyth Academy, the Mountain Community School, Wayne Preparatory Academy. These schools, as noted, they are operating appropriately. They have no other issues other than that 1 year of academics. 5-year guideline placements: The Capital Encore, Commonwealth High School, Stewart Creek High School. 3-year or non-renew guideline placements: Carter Community Charter, Lakeside Charter School, ACE Academy, Charlotte Learning Academy, Dillard Academy, Hiawassee Pony Tribal School, United Community Charter, and Reaching All Minds. There are schools that I feel as though I need to update you on with some additional information prior to placing them within a guideline, and those two schools will be Bradford Preparatory Academy and KIPP Halifax College Preparatory Academy, and I would just like to know when I can update you or how you would like to be updated.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
I mean, would it be appropriate, legal, for, on our 10-year renewals that are statutorily required, that we do those in bulk? Would that be okay? Or do we need to do each school individually?
I think it's fine, provided no one has recused from.
I've recused from one.
Okay, which one did you
South
recuse from?
Brunswick.
South Brunswick?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
And I'm recusing from any Durham renewal.
are any of those in the 10-year?
Yeah, Research Triangle.
Okay. So if we pull those two out. And then, so I can make, with the chair's permission here, a motion. I move that we recommend to the state board for the following schools: American Renaissance, Anderson Creek Academy, Cardinal Charter, Envision Science Academy, Evergreen Community School, Greensboro Academy, Invest Collegiate Imagine, Quest Academy, Raleigh Charter High School, the Franklin School of Innovation, Thomas Jefferson Academy, Vance Charter School, Wake Forest Charter School, Wilson Preparatory School, Wilson Preparatory Academy, that we recommend to the state board that they receive a 10-year renewal based upon their compliance with the statute.
Seconded.
Last one.
We're pulling South Brunswick and Research Triangle. We're separate. And also pull I didn't say Bradford. We'll talk about it in a second. So we got a motion and a second.
I second that.
Sherry seconded. Stephen moved. Sherry seconded. So any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so motion carries unanimously.
Right. Mr. Chair, I move that South Brunswick Charter, that we recommend to the state board that they receive a 10-year renewal for compliance with the statute.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
South Brunswick Charter, that South Brunswick Charter receive a 10-year for compliance with the statute. They're an automatic 10-year renewal.
Okay.
I'll second.
I've just got it split out because Linda Lynn is recused, so that she could vote on all the rest of them.
I'll second and same.
Okay, it's been properly moved in second. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Heather?
She's probably on mute.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Carries.
I move that Research Triangle Charter be recommended to the State Board of Education for a 10-year renewal as they have complied with the statute.
Second again.
All right. Well,
Yes, I'll
I'm
take
I'm
over.
yeah.
All right, we have a motion to second. Any discussion or debate? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. And we'll note that Mr. Quigley was recused on that one. Mr. Chair, for Bradford Preparatory School, I move that we postpone any recommendation until the February meeting of the Charter School Advisory Board.
I second it.
And the reason?
My understanding is we've been told by some people at the school that they've got some clarification they need to do on a testing compliance issue. And so to ensure that they were in compliance with the terms of their charter, we need another couple weeks to figure out what's going on.
Thank you.
That's staff recommendation.
Yeah.
All right, it's been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll hold on Bradford Prep, and now, Stephen, if you want to take us through the 7 years.
Sure, I'd be happy to. With, I guess, the exception here is on Forsyth Academy. After reviewing their trajectory and the way that things have been moving and the quality of the school lately, while they may not be statutorily entitled to a 10-year, I believe that they would benefit greatly from a 10-year renewal. And so my motion would be that Forsyth Academy also receive a 10-year renewal, that we make a recommendation to the state board on that.
Have we received their?
Forsyth Academy, yes.
Forsyth. So why had they?
So they don't meet the statutory requirement for 10 years?
They don't. They were. It was like a 0.5% point off 1 year of statutorily being a 10-year. But they've had. If I can pull it up here.
For the three schools that are listed under the 7-year recommendation, each of those schools is showing an upward trajectory as far as their academic performance, as well as they're operationally sound. They fell within that place where 1 year of their academics and 2 out of 3, the first year starting off, they did not quite meet the comparability to the LEA. But over the course of their last 3 years, they've shown an upward trajectory of their educational progress and academic performance. So those schools do fall into that category.
Yeah, the last.
In the other 2 years, they did meet the comparability?
Yeah, the last 2 years, Forsyth has been comparable. They also have an 80% economically disadvantaged population, and they're outperforming by 10% the LEA in economically disadvantaged students.
So the year they missed it by 0.5% was.
And it was more. It was actually more than 0.5%, but that was the last year that we look back for the 3 years. So the last 2 years they have been comparable and have met growth both years. I made the motion.
So you made a motion for
Phyllis did.
It's been properly moved and seconded, so this is our discussion. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of Stephen's motion to move Forsyth Academy to 10-year and renew their charter at a 10-year term? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. So Forsyth has a 10-year.
Mr. Chair, I move that we consider KIPP Halifax College Preparatory in February pending receipt of their audit, which has still not been turned in.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion on that?
I'm sorry, what are we recommending them for?
Moving to consider them in February to postpone because we still don't have their audit in from last year.
Okay, great. So any discussion on that one? All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries. So we'll cover KIPP in February. You want to keep us rolling here?
Mr. Chair, I move that the Mountain Community School be recommended for a 7-year renewal.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion on?
Okay, how are they different than Forsyth? I thought you said they too had the same issue, that 2 year, that they have been comparable for 2 years out of 3. Why would we give Forsyth 10 under those conditions and not Mountain and Wayne?
Let me try to find this. Wait, it's T because it's the Mountain Community School, right? I tried to go to the M's here. It was not 3 years ago, but 2 years ago on Mountain Community, and they, in their subgroups, they haven't outperformed the LEAs like Forsyth did. That was at least my take on it. If anybody'd rather do a 10-year, I'm not gonna complain. But
What's the email that has this one?
7 years what we created recently to capture those.
those that were kind of in between well, actually we created a 5 to capture between the 3 and the 7s. Yeah.
You'd indicated that on Foresight, they were outperforming by over 10%, the local LEA.
They were outperforming them by 10% among economically disadvantaged students.
So what's the underperforming with?
On Mountain
this one?
Community,
16 points. The school is underperforming with economically disadvantaged students by 16 points.
and they have 10% economically disadvantaged students as opposed to 80.
Or less.
Yeah.
Whereas Forsyth had a majority.
Super majority.
What about Wayne Prep?
Let's see.
Well, did somebody make a motion about?
I made a motion for a 7-year.
Yeah,
on
but we're
that.
just trying to compare.
Yeah, and if we're going to compare the 7 years,
Wayne County's horrible, so they're probably in line.
you know, I'll be honest with you.
They were below the county for 2 years.
Yeah, on Wayne, Wayne is more like Forsyth, in that they had.
They only have 10%.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
3 years ago that they weren't comparable, and they have 23% economically disadvantaged, and outperformed the LEA there, and then they have 17% of their students are students with disabilities, and they outperformed the LEA there as well.
That is correct.
They need a 10 to make it fair.
What do you think about Mountain Community? Mr. Chair, I withdraw my previous motion on Mountain
Okay.
Community School.
Motion withdrawn.
All right, let's just do this. I move that the Mountain Community School, Wayne Preparatory Academy receive a recommendation for a 10-year renewal.
All right. It's been moved by Mr. Walker, seconded by Cheryl Turner. Any discussion on the motion? All right, so all 3 of them in a batch. Okay, so we're
Well,
gonna.
We've already done Forsyth.
We've already done
So just
Forsyth.
Mountain Community and Wayne Prep.
Okay, so all in favor of a 10-year charter for those 2 schools? Okay, motion carries. Great. All right, moving on to 5-year recommendations.
Mr. Chair, I move that Capital Encore receive a recommendation of 5 years from the board.
All right.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's brought seconded, and then let's go ahead and discuss.
So what's the deal on that?
Are we discussing the Capital Encore?
Decap on.
So they are showing an upward trend in their academic performance. They're currently a C. They were previously a D. And upon discussion with the school, they're definitely doing a lot better and headed in the right direction. They're still working on improving some other pieces. And so that's why they fell into the 5-year category, but they're definitely improving academically.
They were comparable last year, but that's been the first year
That's
they've
the
ever
first
been
year.
comparable.
Right.
Where are they located?
They're in
Kimberly?
Fayetteville, North Carolina.
That's what I thought.
Mhm.
How do they look financially? Or are they running a
Uh,
balance?
Well, financially, they're okay. Like, there weren't any red flags, but there are some issues as far as EC that they're trying to build a tighter program. So there's still some room there to grow after discussion with leadership at the school. You know, there is room for growth in some areas, but academically, they're just trying to kind of get that same outcome they had last year, again this year, and to repeat it again. They have a transit kind of population too, because of the military base, and so they're just having to really put some things in place and try to see what's working for them.
They also partner with EMO
Oh, mhm.
out of Michigan.
Okay.
I have a feeling there'll be a 10 when we get back.
Yeah.
I hope so.
We made a motion.
Yeah, it's been properly moved and seconded. This is discussion. Any further discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Mr. Chair, on Carter Community Center,
Supposed to say Carter Community Charter.
sorry,
I'm
that's true.
recusing from this discussion as a.
All right, so on Carter Community Charter, looking at what they've got, they are not low performing. They are not continually low performing. They have exceeded growth 4 out of the last 5 years, and they've exceeded growth 2 out of the last 3 years. Although there is a substantial gap between their grade level proficiency and the LEA in which they're in, because they have exceeded growth 2 out of the last 3 years and 4 out of the last 5 years, I believe that a 5-year charter would be more appropriate for them. So I move that Carter Community Charter receive a recommendation for a 5-year renewal.
I second that.
Yeah. What about their financial? So I thought Alexa said they weren't showing financial weakness.
Do we have any financial information on Carter?
That was in Alexis's report to us a couple months ago. That was highlighted as having.
I feel like we've been
consistent
doing
deficits.
renewals for 8 years.
Yeah.
I can't remember them all.
So for Carter Community, yes, they do have some signs of financial weaknesses that were exhibited in their financial statements, both for 2017 audit and the 2018 audit. Basically, unassigned governmental fund balance deficits that actually have increased in a negative way. Just some, they had a material weakness noted in their financial statements and just general financial weakness.
Are they on any status?
They are currently on a cautionary status. We had them in February of 2018. We put them on a cautionary status because that was their first time of really having a, so that was related to the 2017 audit. We have not increased their status at this point, but it would not, they're kind of right on the edge of, we would increase them to a probationary status due to the second year of a unassigned fund balance deficit.
So in 2018's audit, their deficit increased from there?
Yeah, so it was at a negative rounding here, 21,000 based on 2017 audit, and that decrease did go to an 88,000 deficit this year. So as you're aware, any negative fund balance deficit, regardless of the amount, automatically puts them on a cautionary status. And with that increase in the deficit, if there is multiple years, we consider increasing their or elevating their status.
Alexis, just for clarification.
Oh, we did at the last.
Are we say?
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Leanne just corrected me in the fact that we have increased their status to probationary.
Okay, so just for clarification, I'm not. This is purely factual. Are you saying fund? This is not revenues over expenditures. It's fund balance deficit.
Correct. So their expenditures...
Or expenditures over revenues.
Okay, so their 1 year expenditure over revenues last year in 2016 was their expenditures exceeded their revenues by $46,000 for that one current year. Their unassigned fund balance is now at a negative 88,000. So, and they are, as I stated, they are on probationary status. We did elevate them after last month's meeting.
Well, with that knowledge, I'm going to withdraw my motion for a 5-year based off the increase in their status.
What audit opinion did they get? Did they get an unqualified opinion?
I'm sorry, I can't.
Did they get an unqualified audit?
Yes. I mean, but they did have material weaknesses. So.
Then I move that Carter Community Charter receive a 3-year recommendation from this board.
Second that.
Any discussion or debate? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
So before we move on, I want to make sure. Let's see. Okay. So when we discussed the 7-year schools, Pioneer Springs was one of those schools that also fell underneath that category. And I don't know that we did a vote for them. Pioneer Springs is currently a C school. They fell within the 7-year because of not meeting the standard last year, not meeting RIF last year. However, they fall into the same category with the other schools as far as comparability for their performance, their school performance. They've grown. I'm sorry.
I didn't make it to the new chart.
No.
They're on your original
They're on their
chart.
yes. They would have fallen within the category with Wayne Preparatory and the other schools. Pretty much the same scenario. Operationally, they are doing well, and they are showing growth in the right direction, but they did not, their growth index, though, was a -5 last year. So they did not meet growth last year. That's the difference between that
Got
school.
it. And so they would fall under the 7-year.
They would be 7, yes.
Well, Mr. Chair, I move that Pioneer Springs Community School receive a recommendation for a 7-year renewal.
All right.
Second that.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Lakeside Charter School, I move that we recommend to the State Board a 3-year renewal.
Is that the one that used to be
Thunderbird.
Thunderbird?
Did they turn in their audit?
Yes, they have.
Do we know their correct annual?
Stephen, what was your recommendation again? I didn't hear that.
3 years.
Enrollment, 17-18 was 116, what it is this year.
That was one of the schools that was on the report.
They were here recently, and
Yes.
it's about the same.
I think so.
Might even be less.
It's
A
less.
little bit less.
After speaking with him last, they were at 98
Okay.
for enrollment, but they're continuing their process for recruitment, but they were at 98, and that's been right before Christmas.
And that's with the rebranding,
Right.
the new name and everything.
That is correct.
Yeah, if it hadn't been for the, with the enrollment issues that they have, I would be okay with a 5-year. But I think they're still, just want to make sure that they've got, where we've got our eye on them, just a little closer with the 3-year. But I personally think the school's going to make it and bounce back.
How did they look financially in that 2018 audit? And was that the 1 year that they were taken over? So they already, or this is they're in the year?
No, they're in their second year.
Is this their first year as Lakeside or their second?
They rebranded last year.
So the school has been on disciplinary financial status since the 2015 audit. So we have kept them consistently on that. Looking at the last fiscal year in 2018, there was improvements. Probably the biggest concern financially is that they continue to have a decline in average daily membership. So it went from 123 to 94. As well as they didn't have any reduction in their debt service. So even though their fund balance was a little better, it is their expenditures still exceeded their revenues, and they still it's still precarious, shall we say?
So you made a motion for 3 years?
3 years.
Second.
They currently have about 98 on their enrollment list for next year, new students that are applying for that school. And they're with their new leader. I do believe that they are turning the corner.
I think that if we're not gonna close the school, that we should give them 3 more years. And it, you know, we've given this school an opportunity to right itself. I think this is probably their last chance. If they can't get it right now, it's probably time to hang it up. But it sounds like they're on the right track. Yep. All right, so all in favor?
Excuse me, the motion again?
3 year.
3 years.
Staff recommendation. All right, all in favor? Ayes have it. Heather? All right.
Did you hear that eye?
That was weak.
There was an eye in there. I heard her. Mr. Chair, on ACE Academy, school's got some work to do. Definitely has some work to do. But there seems to be some light there. They've went from an F to a D last year, so at least a little bit of positivity there. Grade level proficiency went up last year as well. So my motion is that we recommend to the state board that ACE Academy receive a 3-year renewal to see if they can continue this upward trend.
I second it.
All right, it's been properly moved and second. Discussion on that motion? Okay. No discussion, all in favor? All right.
Mr. Chair, on Charlotte Learning Academy, this school, not sure when the school started. I know we've got grades from 2014, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17, and 17, 18. They have been an F every time. The last 3 years, they have not met growth. They have 55% of their students are economically disadvantaged, yet they perform about 27% below the LEA among economically disadvantaged students. On a whole, they perform 42% last year, 42% in grade level proficiency below the LEA. The school's just not getting it done. I move that Charlotte Learning Academy be recommended for non-renewal.
I second.
All right, properly moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Did we put in that motion non-renewal or assumption? Just saying.
I think if the state board wants to, I mean, I think assumption is just kind of a, if it happens, it happens. I mean, on this one, I
think after we do the non-renewal, then if somebody wants to talk, if the boards want to talk about assumption, then that can happen.
What is their enrollment?
260.
260 last year.
And colleagues, this is a case where we really have to be firm, right? And be stand up and not renewal.
Yeah, this is a clear-cut case. Just 3 years and not meeting growth and extreme low performance across almost essentially all subgroups. Students with disabilities are perform below 5%, which is 15 points below the county.
If you gave them the 5%.
Yeah, right.
You know,
if you gave them the 5%.
It may be 0.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, on Dillard Academy, I think they're moving in the right direction, but I don't know if they're moving in the right direction quick enough to be anything higher than a 3-year. I definitely don't think that they're need to be closed, but I just can't see giving higher than a 3-year to the school that's been a FFFFD over the last 5 years. So I move that we recommend to the State Board Dillard Academy receive a 3-year renewal.
I'm sorry?
They had very strong growth last year.
Last year, they exceeded growth.
I mean, they exceeded growth
6
with a
points.
growth index almost 5%, and they're almost comparable.
And this county's very well.
They had a growth index of 5.96%.
Yeah, very good.
Last year. It's pretty awesome.
All right.
So you feel, Stephen, they're headed in the right direction?
I think so.
And not worthy of non-renewal?
Not worthy of non-renewal, no.
Not this year.
Definitely,
Not this year.
definitely a 3-year.
Not this year. Any further discussion? Did we have a second? Stephen made the motion. Okay, Sherry seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. All right.
Chair, on Hiawassee, I move that we recommend to the State Board a 3-year renewal.
How many times, this is their second, I mean, how do they just come up with it?
They go FD, 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 not met, met, met.
Ever since I've been on
But
this
they're
board.
far behind the.
This has
every
been
year?
problematic from the get-go.
How does the school
Mr.
look
Vice Chair.
financially?
Financially, they're actually okay. I don't know, with Hiawassee, there were no red flags or any issues noted, so.
I mean, our guidelines, this is the reason I make it, is based off the guidelines. It says that they don't have compliance issues, they don't have financial issues. It says academic outcomes have been comparable at least 1 year or met growth 2 out of the immediately preceding 3 years. They've met growth the last 2 years. To me, it's hard to shut down a school that has been meeting growth. Even, I mean, that's where I'm coming from. I want their proficiency to go up. Their proficiency is very poor, and they need to work on it. But, I mean, I can't make a motion to close a school that's met growth 2 years in a row, especially when our guidelines say 2 out of 3 years of met growth means a 3-year renewal if you're not comparable otherwise.
Okay.
Has the motion been seconded?
No, it has not.
Oh, I'll second.
All right. Lynn, motion by Stephen, seconded by Ms. Kroger. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm opposed.
Okay, all opposed? Alan?
United Community Charter. They've met growth the last 3 years, but they are continually low performing because of their performance grade, and they've got some work still to do to catch up with the LEA there. Mr. Chair, I move that we recommend to the State Board United Community Charter receive a 3-year renewal.
All right.
I second that.
It's been properly moved in second. Discussion.
Have they expanded their grades? Are they, this, you said K-5, is that where they want to stay?
Mm-hmm. And actually, they were the school that came before you and talked about the fact that they are growing the EC population greater than they're growing the general population. I'm just trying to ring a bell for you which school it was, because a lot of schools came up.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, am I mumbling into the mic? So just a reminder as to which school this is. This is the school that's located in Charlotte, but they are the ones that came before you in growing their EC population greater than they're growing their general population. And so just as a reminder to which school it is, I think.
Was this a school they did really well with EC?
Right.
When their regular ed kids were struggling?
Right.
22% EC.
Mm-hmm.
And, let me see. How are we doing with EC?
Yeah,
The school performance for the
margin.
SWD was 48.
See that margin right there? It's huge.
That's high for EC though.
Yes, that's very good.
It's ridiculously high for EC.
The county was 21. So, They're embracing that challenge for sure.
All right.
So we
I
second.
didn't have a, did you make a motion?
A motion for a 3-year.
Yeah, it had been second. All right. Properly moved and second. Further discussion. All right, all in favor? All right, motion carries.
Then, Mr. Chair, on reaching all minds, they exceeded growth 2 out of the last 3 years, but they're still substantially behind the LEA and actually have kind of a downward trajectory on their grade level proficiency over the last 3 years, which makes me hesitant to go any higher than a 3-year renewal. Just, not a non-renewal because they have exceeded growth 2 out of the last 3 years. I'd like to see that grade level proficiency start rising back up instead of dropping. So, Mr. Chair, I move that Reaching All Minds receives a recommendation for a 3-year renewal.
Second.
What's the issue, what's the testing issue?
So we were there on a school visit, actually doing a renewal visit, and I was contacted by the assistant principal, came out and let me know that they were in the process of clearing up some form of testing issue, but not irregularity. So it was not that they were put on any kind of probationary status. It was just a matter of getting the process cleaned up, making the process so that materials are where they should be and things are organized.
And finally, Mr. Chair, I don't think we had.
We got a vote. It's been properly moved and second. This is our discussion. Any further discussion on Reaching All Minds? Okay. All in favor?
I'm opposed.
Then, Mr. Chair, on the last 2 schools, this Commonwealth and Stewart Creek High, they are dropout schools. When they submitted their application, they submitted to us an accountability model that they asked the state board to approve. The state board approved the accountability model, and they've done everything that the state board asked them to do under the accountability model, and they've overperformed based off of what their goals were that they set that the state board approved. I think people have concerns about turnover and students coming in and out. Welcome to working on a dropout prevention school or working on a dropout school. You're going to have that. And I think if you have we actually heard some in the presentation before about how many students they have had graduated. And those students that we saw graduate, I would say they would not have graduated had it not been for these 2 schools. And we've seemed to really been on these schools all the time, always having them presenting and everything. And I think they've done what we've asked them to do. They've done what the state board's asked them to do. And, Mr. Chair, I move that Commonwealth and Stewart Creek High receive a recommendation for a 10-year renewal.
I second.
All right, did you say 10?
Did you say 10?
Wasn't there some issue about declining enrollment at Stewart Creek?
I think it's hard to get a grasp on enrollment, period, at these schools because you've got students that drop out. They might try it out for a couple weeks, then decide they're just going to drop out after all. But I just, they've done what we've asked them to do. I think it's always going to be difficult to figure out the student situation. Once a student's left school once, I think they're probably more likely to leave school again, and it makes it difficult for them to retain students. But I think they've done what we've asked them to do.
Mr. Vice Chair, I would like to also advise colleagues that both of these schools have a very symbiotic relationship with Charlotte Mecklenburg schools. I mean, it's not adversarial in the least bit, and they're doing a whole lot more than taking this group that Charlotte Mecklenburg schools can really do without and addressing their needs in particular. I concur with our Vice Chair on this.
Are there any financial concerns for either of these?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Well, what was, I see their graduation rate here. It was less than 5%.
What was graduation rate one of their, what did they, what did
What
they
are their
list?
goals?
Yeah, what did they list as their accountable?
I'd have to pull
Can
it
I,
up.
all right, here's the deal. We have got to get to the interviews or else we're gonna get really behind. I'm already gonna have to adjust the agenda, so we have two options here as far as I'm concerned. We need to vote on this right now. And so I'm gonna call it a question, I'm gonna call for a vote on this. And if it carries, it carries. If you are not comfortable with tenure, just vote against it. And I will put it on the agenda for a later time in the next 2 days, but we have got to get moving or else we're gonna get really behind and we're not gonna, so right now we have a little buffer, but we're gonna run out. So I'm gonna call for a vote on this. All right.
Did that get seconded?
It's already been seconded.
By me.
All right, so all in favor? All right, all opposed? Okay, Sherry Reed is opposed. Great, motion carries, 10-year renewal. Let's move on to our applications.
Thank you.
And
How many renewal schools do we have next year?
I'm gonna revise the
20.
schedule.
We won't have
It's
this.
better than this year.
What was our total number this year, Shirley?
This year, we ended up with 34.
Make sure I got them all down.
Okay, I'm gonna revise the schedule, so listen up. This is what I'm proposing. 10:05, which is in 3 minutes essentially, to 11:05, it will be Clara Science. And then we need a break. I expect we'll need a break at 11:00, immediately after that application, so we'll take a 10-minute break. Then will be 11:15 to 12:15. Will be Wilmington School of the Arts. Then I think it's gonna make most sense if lunch is here to go ahead and have lunch from 12:15 to 1. At 1, we'll take up MENA. That'll be 1 to 2. And then Poquoson will have a 5-minute break, assuming we take the full time with MENA. Poquoson will be 2:05 to 3:05, assuming we take the full time. In looking at our clarifications, we have 2 replications of I believe there's 2 Charter Schools USA schools in there.
Same board.
Same board, so we'll be able to get that time back, have a discussion about the new application at the end, and end by 4. Is everybody comfortable with those adjustments? Okay, I just want to make sure that we allot the 60 minutes for our applicants today. Sorry to push us there. All right, so, and Dave, we can just make sure lunch is here at 12:15. Usually they're here early. Okay, so we're ready to get started. I'm gonna put 60 minutes on the clock.
The applicant group coming before the board today is Clara Science Academy. This interview will be led by co-chair Stephen Walker. They're proposing to locate in Mecklenburg County. The proposed grade levels and student enrollment are as follows. Year 1, K through 2, 250 students. Year 2, K through 3, 350 students. Year 3, K through 4, 450 students. Year 4, K through 5, 550 students. Year 5, K through 6, 650 students. There was no LEA impact or due diligence completed for this group. Pass-fail ratings are as follows. Mission, purposes, and goals, all pass. Education plan, all pass. Governance and capacity, all pass. Operations, all pass. Finance, all pass. They are requesting an acceleration, and they are a repeat applicant. They received assistance from Leaders Building Leaders and the North Carolina Public Charter School Accelerator Program. No direct fees were provided to either entity. They have had representation at every ready-to-open planning year session held thus far.
Great. You got this. This one's yours.
All right, we'll have Board of Clara Science Academy come up and just introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll get started.
Yes, good morning. Happy New Year, and thank you for inviting us back. My name is Omar Muhammad. I'm the chair of the board. I'm a business owner. I have worked with the USDA. I have worked in the financial field with GE Capital, E-Trade, and I have worked in the nonprofit sector. Thanks, sir.
Good morning, distinguished board. My name is James Cyrus. I'm an attorney in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been practicing there for the past 10 years. I'm also a husband and father of 3 children. Been excited to work with the Clara Science Academy. It's been a fun, exciting time. We've been working really hard to prepare for this meeting today, and we look forward to it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Teresa Mutakabir, and I retired from IBM as a project manager after 32 years, and I'm currently a realtor full-time in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Good morning, board members. My name is Glendy Tate. I am a retired senior executive from the Federal Service in Washington, D.C. I'm currently the president and CEO of a nonprofit organization that is focused on economic empowerment in Wilmington. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jawad Rashid. I am a judicial officer of 26 years of family court in New York State. I am a member of the Saney Charter School Board. I'm a trustee and a board member for the last 7 years. And I'm the director of a youth organization, the largest non-for-profit youth organization in Central New York. Thank you.
Good morning, board. My name is April Pettigrew Yakub. I'm currently a teacher at CMS in Charlotte, North Carolina. Licensed in Chinese and Social Studies, Social Studies Department Chair at Olympic High School, and I'm FBI Citizens Academy Board Secretary.
Good morning. My name is Roger Sellers. I'm the pastor of Mulberry Presbyterian Church on Tuckasegee Road in Charlotte. We are the church where our session, that's the governing body in a Presbyterian church, has officially invited Clara Academy, if the way be clear and they are approved, to call our facility home beginning this next year.
Good morning, I'm Varsti Mohammed. I am a full-time counselor. I've worked in Head Start for over 7 years. I've also worked with Charter School as a counselor in prior education, and I'm the secretary of the board.
All right, then let's talk about this application just a little bit, and we can ask the questions. I mean, the grades were pretty good on it. I think the biggest issue that I had, at least, was whether the facility would be an issue, and it was kind of left up in the air when we had the clarification interview. It's been a couple months since then of whether this facility, would be ready in time, whether there was a lease, and there seemed to be in the start of the application, what it said about the facility didn't seem to match up what happened at the end, and so I think we needed and basically asked them to make sure you can explain to us how the facility works. Looking through the grades that people have given it, I passed most everything. Cheryl, I think you had some problem with the education plan, and so I think we need to ask some questions about that. And on the operations, we had basically it was interesting. The external reviewers basically passed operations, but the members of the Charter School Advisory Board that graded the application failed it. So it's kind of an interesting thing, and I think it all had to do with facilities. Facilities were the main thing that we were talking about. So.
And I had a lot of concerns over the budget because when they were here last year, none of the concerns that were brought up last year seemed to be addressed in the budget. So I still have a lot of concerns over it.
I had concerns over the survey and whether the enrollment, they could get that enrollment, like 250. The survey did not have enough detail in it to know if students would definitely come.
So let's
acceleration.
Let's see, anybody's got a more pressing question they want to ask first. Can you give us an update on what's going on with the facility?
Yes, I can. In terms of the facility, you've met the pastor from the church in terms of where we are, and we have a contract pending the approval of your vote today. So the contract is ready and set available. Our lawyers have looked at the contract, and we also have met with a developer as well in terms of looking at our goals as we move forward. And we've also met with the state in terms of the architect, in terms of looking at what needs to get up to part in terms of the bathrooms and handicapable accessible into the building.
So what kind of time frame are we looking at on making sure that everything's in?
The time frame, based on our discussion, will pending this vote, they're ready to set and go. They give us no more than a month to go in and actually fix and repair the area and have it ready for opening.
So do you have a signed lease now that is contingent on receiving the charter?
We have a pending lease ready to go pending your decision, yes.
Okay. So it's something that's written, signed?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Can I say something? Yeah. Just looking at this isn't a question, it's more a statement. I think for me, because I want to get past the acceleration piece quickly. Like I don't see a case for acceleration here. It's another charter school in Charlotte. Like who they can get a facility, but there's lots of data coming out of Charlotte based on how schools are performing there that they're struggling to get kids. So I don't see how this meets the criteria for acceleration, and I would like to move to discussing it as an application. I'm not going to be voting for acceleration for the school. I don't see it. I think there has to be a very clear and compelling need that is unique, and there's nothing in this that suggests that it's at all unique.
Why do you feel that the school needs to be accelerated?
We were invited by your board we were invited back by the board for acceleration. So we gladly accept the invitation, but the
some
invitation
board
was
members,
given to us.
and just to clarify, some board members suggested that. Not all board members felt that was necessary. We appreciate you listening.
Do you have any more information than just the surveys that we had from from your application, that online surveys, people that were interested in the school?
We also have some pending application. What we've done is literally take surveys in the community, and that was presented at the last meeting that we've had with you as well. We've had actually over 150 applications at the time when we presented that pending application when we presented that data.
Okay, because the survey did not have any kind of grade level, so you've got those pending for kindergarten through
second grade, yes.
And that number was 150 with the idea of opening with 250,
yes.
Correct?
Right, at that time, yes.
May I go back to a facilities question, and I apologize, I'm the new guy on the block, so I wasn't here for the last interview. On the timeline on the facility, you indicated that you have a pending contract based upon this board's vote, and you'd met with architects and so forth. I think in the application I read that by February 1st, you were going to start getting the permits necessary. So are you saying has the architect told you that it would be March then when you would expect all renovations for this facility to be completed?
At least 3 months. So
3 months. Okay.
Right.
Sorry,
all of it will take place in at least 3 months. But however, they're ready to go pending the approval here from the board in terms of start physically working on the building.
I want to. This is more for the board as a whole. Like as you know, I've been thinking a lot about this. When we're talking about facilities, to me, it's like you're actually running a after-school program in a facility that you already own that has 25 classrooms and is ready to be turnkey. Like you could start school tomorrow. That's what I'm thinking of when I'm talking about accelerated. Not like you need to upfit a building for 3 months while you try to recruit kids. I just don't think this meets when we're talking about acceleration should be a rigorous, the application process should be rigorous, and we should have a rigorous bar for threshold. Like we just closed the school for not meeting their baseline school numbers. Mm-hmm. So that is how, I just think we just did that. Like, we need to be very disciplined about what we require. So I'm trying to push because I want us to I want to talk about the school as a regular application.
And I'd like to hear Cheryl's kind of thoughts or some questions about the education plan.
I felt like it just wasn't clearly articulated. In the clarification interviews, we got a little bit more information, but I read it again last night, and I still don't know what they're gonna do.
Well, and to that end, Cheryl, I think for me, the question has been, the mission focuses on STEM, but then throughout the plan, it throws in this dual language. And even last year and this year when they came, when we've asked for clarification on the language piece, it's unclear to me.
Because the dual language is really just a special, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
it's not really dual language.
And the parents are going to get to decide what languages. There were three
Three.
choices. That was one of the things. Chinese came up in the middle, and we were like, "Where'd that come from?" But the parents are going to get to decide which language they use. The other thing is that in the mission it says STEM, but through STEAM keeps showing up too.
Streams.
Can you just walk us through? Let's say walk us through the day. Let's say you're starting off K2. K2. Walk me through a day of a second grade student in Clara Science Academy.
Well, Clara Science Academy we're offering in the mornings. We are looking at 100 minutes of literacy. We're looking at 50 minutes daily literacy. We're looking at 50 minutes of writing, 50 minutes of
So what kind of thing would you do for second grade literacy?
So for second grade literacy, you're looking at still having writing and reading. We do have coordinators who will be pushing into the classroom to assist with reading, making sure that the students are up to par with where they need to be in terms of their assessment coming up in that third year of review. So we're looking at you come into the classroom, the teacher will be guiding the classroom, there will be small groups intervention, there will be breakout times in terms of when this after the assessment in terms of finding out where those students are at, making sure that we've meet their grade level expectations. Science and math will be incorporated in their daily, everyday activity. There's 100 hours of minutes allocated towards math and science as well, daily in the classroom.
So how are you integrating the STEM? So I understand you're going to teach science, you're going to teach math. I get that. But how's STEM integrated?
STEM is integrated through the terminologies for one, for example, in terms of science terminologies, we use that in vocabulary. In math will be incorporated throughout the areas of whether it is numeracy, but it's pushing in dually at the same time. They'll be exposed to environmental discussions. There'll be exposure to areas in terms of field trip where we have partnership with areas such as the museum, so that depending on the area of discussion, students will be able to go to the museum and continue that ongoing discussion with the science and the mathematics, which will give them that STEM exposure. We also plan on bringing in partnership with professionals who can come in, practitioners who can come into the classroom and actually give the students hands-on experience at an early stage so that they can get those exposure and start learning and having a like for the sciences as well as the math areas.
Is anybody on the board going to be the school administrator?
Yes.
Who?
I will. Yes.
Anybody else have other questions?
I do. You've got some very high academic performance goals. In year one, you've got 60% of them will be, through the Renaissance Star, will be proficient. How are you coming up with that 60%, and then by year 3, you got 80% proficient, even on the EOGs? How are you coming up with that goal?
The goal came up after we looked at take a good demographics of the area. We know that most of our students are coming from low-income areas. We also know that they're struggling. We know that it's a failing area. So we looked at what's the possibility of getting the students above that 50% mark. So we projected we should be able to get at least 60% of our students up to par at the end of our first year. That means we have to have heavily pushed in terms of our tutoring sessions, offering tutoring session, having pull-out sessions with our students, focusing on getting them up to speed with their reading as well as their understanding in their academics in order to meet that goal. We also plan on having, our goal is to have a good partnership with our parents, because that is the key, making sure that those parents are involved in the academic of their children, making sure that the teachers have established a great partnership with the parents. One of the ways of doing that is to literally go to the home and have a first initial home-based setting relationship with our parents, because without the parents, we're not going to be successful. So we need parents, we need a community. We also plan on reaching out to the community to bring in, make sure that collaboration is there in the community as well.
What reading program, you've talked a lot about literacy and the minutes you're going to be doing with literacy, but what reading program or curriculum are you going to use?
The reading program for literacy is, well, no, the science, no. The science, I know that the science, I apologize, I'm trying to go back through my notes. The science, for math and science, we'll be using the Discovery Education as well as the Pearson. The Pearson also has a literacy piece as well to it, so we plan to look at those two curriculums in terms of supplementary curriculum for our classrooms.
On page 3
I believe one of the curriculum, if my memory is correct, is the Journey. The Journey curriculum, I think, we'll be using the literacy as well.
Because on page 3 you talked about a Common Core curriculum, and I didn't know, like,
well, we're using the Common Core as a guide, but we plan on using other supplementary curriculums to make sure that we're meeting the state guidelines as well.
Okay, because I didn't know there was a Common Core curriculum, so that's what I was asking about.
Any other questions?
Some of my questions center around the budget, and they were questions that I had brought up last year. Just a lot of things seem to be under budget as far as health insurance, the retirement plan. EC population seems to increase, looking at your revenue projections from 12% up to 18.5 in year 5. And so I just get concerned that expenses might be understated and revenues overstated. And that coupled with a lot of competition in that area as far as getting the number of students in that you need, I just have some concerns.
One of the reasons why why you see that the insurance is so low, because we know that to get a good insurance rate, pending our staff, employment of the staff, we have to have at least 25 of our employees buy into to get a great insurance package. So we're hoping that at half of those employees will be able to buy into the insurance plan up front, which, and actually that pricing is what we as the charter school will contribute towards the insurance plan. So we're hoping with the buy-in from our staff, the more employees buy into the program, most likely is going to impact in terms of what kind of packages that we can offer to them at a better rate than what's there. And as long as we stay within our guidelines, not going over our finances, our budget, because our goal is not to go under.
I mean, North Carolina has tens of thousands of people on their plan, and I think Dale Falwell would go crazy if he could get health insurance for every state employee in North Carolina for about $110 a month, because we spend a whole lot more on that. I can't imagine, you know, I mean, that even sounds, that sounds lower than the lowest level HSA plan. I mean, I can't see, I think that's going to be a difficulty on your budget when you're looking at, you know, you're looking at your revenues. I mean, I almost think you're gonna eat up your surplus just with health insurance costs.
And another question I had too is, there was in the appendix, charter school capital letter that you received $270,000 in startup. I'm not sure exactly. Could you explain a little bit more what that is and where it is in the budget and what the repayment terms are? Because I didn't see that anywhere reflected in the budget numbers.
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of your initial.
There is a letter in the appendices that said was from Charter School Capital that said they were going to give you $270,000, but I don't see that reflected in the budget number.
Yes, that was an excellent question. When we were here for clarification, we explained that we had a delay in the application process. It was pushed back to October the 1st. And when we received that intent letter from Charter School Capital, it was on October the 1st. And so the board decided not to go back into the application because we already submitted it. And we just added in the appendix.
So again, that's another thing that would be an expense in your budget, correct? The repayment of that?
Yes, if we decide, yes, no, if we decide to go with them. That was just an intent.
So it's kind of,
Can I address just the insurance issue just for one quick second? One of the things that we found out in the charter school that I'm a trustee of is that it really, and admittedly so, $1,200 seemed low, but admittedly so, you don't know what your employees' makeup is going to be until actually you have those employees. And many times when you negotiate with the insurance companies, the age of those employees, the experience of those employees, prior insurance of those employees may carry with them, whether they're retired and already have insurance, whether they're young and on parents' insurances. All of that will factor into the negotiations of what is a reasonable insurance amount. So I think saying that your insurance amount is too low is really too early to make that kind of an assessment without at least knowing what the base of the employees are going to be, which gives you the benefit to make those different types of negotiations with various insurance companies. So I don't want that to be a hindrance, although the starting amount is low. We really don't know what the insurance amounts are going to be until we look at the needs of our staff.
Well, let's say for instance that you did find out that it's going to cost you $3,000 instead of $1,200. What kind of adjustments would you make to the budget?
We would do what every other charter school does, sir. You go back to your budget, you look at your budget, you try to find out within your budget, what do I move around, what do I shift to meet that new need? I mean, obviously, the goal here is to stay under budget. And like every other charter school that's been out there, especially startups, you got to tweak that budget probably quite a few times until you can get the nominal balance that you need, versus whether it's insurance for workers, or whether it's any other type of expense that the school is going to be needing. So obviously these are projections, but I don't know any charter school in the history of the United States that has not have to go back and tweak those numbers once the realities come in.
but there's a lot of zeros in the budget already.
Well, I had a question about the budget. In your application, you talked about a social worker and a counselor is mentioned, but I didn't see those listed in the budget. Can you tell me where they are in the personnel budget?
Yes, those were projected positions pending after the first year. It's actually listed in it's not in the actual category, but it's listed under professional staff.
Professional staff, okay.
Well,
I don't see it there. I see a lead administrator, clerical, food service, transportation.
That's the first year of opening. The staff the governing body, the staff members for that school, the administration of that school has been reduced pending a projection for 2 years. So at the second year, those key positions will come on board. So you're probably looking at the projection area where we place for the second year.
I'm looking at the second year. I see 4 people as instructional support. Would you call them instructional support? Still not seeing them in the budget.
The budget shows no finance officer until year 3. Is financials going to be?
I'm sorry?
The budget shows no finance officer until year 3. Who's going to handle the finances the first 2 years?
Our board has a treasurer currently and someone who reviews our contracts. The person who reviews our contracts and our vendors and all of those documents is already on board. And then within the next year, we'll have a CFO within budget.
So the board's going to take care of expenses the first year?
We have a finance committee, and it's headed by our treasurer right now. And we have someone with the treasurer who reviews the documentation, the legal documentation as well. So we.
She's talking about the accounting. Yes. Excuse me, ma'am, but I don't think that answer was, the question was answered correctly. If I'm not mistaken, you're talking about who's going to handle the accounting as far as the bookkeeping and payroll.
No, I think you have that that's in the budget as a contract.
Okay.
But you still have to have somebody in charge of finances.
Yes.
In general.
So, somebody in charge of finances in general? Well, that right there will be the lead administrator, because when we were here last year, we had put, for the first year, a financial officer, and we were told that that can be contracted out. And so what we did is we seek a vendor, and we spoke with Arcadia and North Star, and they gave us the proposal of what they can do for us as far as the accounting of the school.
They're doing your student accounting and your personnel?
Yes, ma'am, they are.
And that's in the budget, that contract's in the budget?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Well, under professional contracting for student accounting, it's 0 for the first 5 years.
It is, and we put it for the financial, we put it under the line of financial contracts. I think it's about $20,000.
So does that include your audit fee too?
Well, the audit fee doesn't start until next year after we open.
So it increases by $3,000. Lynn, I don't know, is $20,000 enough to do student accounting and personnel?
That seems low to me too.
Well, our proposal was submitted after our conference call with Arcadia North Star. That they informed us that they would charge us roughly about $15,000
For both?
for the year. For the year,
For students and for personnel?
yes, for students and personnel. That was just for the first year.
Can somebody speak to me about, or speak to us about the transportation and lunch plans?
Okay.
In terms of lunch, we'll be utilizing the USDA program. So our parents will have an opportunity to apply for the school, to participate in the school lunch. We also have a contractor who will come in and take care of the services as well. So that's only one person that you're looking at for in terms of the budget area. In terms of transportation, we do have currently set aside, we've been actively working on funding for the transportation piece. We know that in the area itself, it's about, transportation is needed. Roughly about 70% of our parents have the capability of self-transporting their children to school. However, we at the moment have set aside funding for 2 buses, actually 3 buses, 2 that's running fully and 1 will be utilized for for repairs if needed. Along with that, we also have, we are in negotiation with Eagles busing to assist with additional transportation if needed.
So, the bus line has 0 until line 3, year 3, which is 15,000. I mean, you put in monies for gas and maintenance, but where are the buses coming from?
The buses will be coming, the 2 buses, the allocated 2 buses will be already taken care of in terms of being paid out through the $20,000 that was allocated for that, with that extra 3 buses. So with the contract with Eagles, that will be going into, it's actually in the budget, it should be under,
I see gas, oil, tires, and maintenance, but nothing
Yes.
for buses.
We raised $20,000 for our buses. That right there was in the budget. That's why you see a 0 on that line. And we allocated the gas and the maintenance for the first year.
Have $20,000 that you have already raised to buy buses?
Yes.
Is that the 20,000 in other funds?
Yes.
That's, okay.
Yes.
But you've got to spend it out here, show where it's
Then you
spent out.
still have to show
If you're
the
showing,
expense.
yeah, if you're showing it in revenues, you have to show it as an expense then.
As an expense?
Yeah, if you put it in revenues, then you'd have to show it going out.
Right now, it's just in the general pot of
Okay,
revenue.
it's just in the, yes. Yes, and that
But
was
you've
my
included
mistake.
the revenues and not that expense.
Yes.
So when you go to spend that money,
Yes.
that money then got spent on other things in the budget.
Oh, yes.
Which leaves you with a $79,000 surplus in year 1 as opposed to a $99,000
Exactly.
surplus in year 1.
Okay.
Because you've
Now
got
I
money
understand.
went in that was for a certain thing, but you didn't take it out for that thing, and so now it's,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Now I
Have you
understand.
spoken with someone and know that you're going to be able to buy 2 buses for 20,000?
Yes, yes. We already did the research.
Because
The-
even if you don't transport kids daily to and from schools, your STEM plan has you doing a lot of field trips, a lot of interactions with museums, etc. So you've got to have some way to transport kids.
Yes.
Whether you're picking them up daily or not, your ed plan is saying we're doing this.
Yes. And that's why we're talking with Eagle Bus Company to make sure that all those areas are covered.
That can be very costly.
Bus company about
That's
what
very
they charge for field trips?
Yes. Yes, I did.
If you have a handicapped child, that expense goes way up.
Yes. But they also
Needs a
assured us
handicap
that
accessible.
if we can have them all at a central location, that right there will cut down on the price as well.
Talking a little bit about field trips, because you have a lot of field trips in your plan, do you have the partnerships and the schedule for that already? Because with acceleration, I mean, we're talking 8 months and you're going. So I would think that that has to be pretty nailed down. And how often are you taking the field trips?
It'll be once a month, at least once a month.
Have you got those dates nailed down and the people that
We don't have the actual dates nailed down as right at this moment, but yes, we were still in negotiation in terms of looking at the schedule and making sure.
fill up so fast?
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right, but the dates are still pending. Again, we're pending approval from you, so we cannot move forward and say, yes, we're going to do this until we have a vote from you of assurance that we have been cleared to move forward.
I don't really have a question, just a comment too on the budget. I think it certainly, from my experience, looks some areas that might need to be beefed up a little bit. Things that capture my eye are the technology budget, starting with 250 students and growing from there. Even the custodial contract to maintain that facility, I think you had budgeted $15,000 for the year. And then I would just say, I'd point out marketing as well. You're potentially in a market that has a lot of competition for choice, and that only means ramping up the marketing as well. And I would just encourage you maybe to look at those numbers again.
Yes.
And can you, looking at the custodial contract, you've got the 15,000 in year 1, but year 2, 3, 4, and 5, there's nothing in that. Do you know why that's way?
When we submitted our application last year, we were told that can be contracted out for the first year. So that's what we did. We contracted it out for the first year. And then after that, the year 2 and year 3, we plan on bringing on a custodian for hire.
Oh, okay. Let me go back to that budget.
As a board, if I can remind you all, I think we had a presentation 6 months ago about school buses, and I recall $80,000 for a new bus.
Buy a new one, yeah.
Yeah, that's new.
And
Right, use one for 5.
And then very strict regulations about those buses. I guess I'm having an issue with $20,000.
If you can find used buses, it is doable. If you can find them, there's just, in the last year, they've been hard to come by.
Can you explain to me, I know we talked about facilities initially, and you have the pending lease with the church. So year 1, you're going to use the church facility. That's 250 students. How many classrooms are in that facility? But what are your plans going forward? How many years do you plan to be in that facility versus, because you're adding 100, proposing to add 100 students each year. So how quickly are you going to outgrow that facility and have to have plans for the next facility?
Yes, excellent question. We have looked at the facility, and the facility can hold up to 550 students.
So we could get a certificate of occupancy for that?
Well, we're going to get the certificate of occupancy for 250. And then we add on after that. So we plan to stay in that building for roughly about 3 years and then move out.
As projected, 450 students would be housed in that facility.
Yes.
There are sufficient classrooms?
Yes, it is. It is.
Is there a playground?
Yes, it is.
Will there be any transportation, egressing issues, whatever?
No, it will not. An excellent facility. It is sound. The architects, which have they have been doing this for about 20 years, ARL, and they have been working with the school system for over 10 years. Upfitting.
They work with Charlotte Mack.
Yes. And they have done their assessment, and they have walked through. The building is sound. We are ready to go, ladies and gentlemen.
Does it have a lunchroom, cafeteria?
Yes, it does. Excellent. Huge.
All right, we need to start wrapping up the question and answer portion. Anybody have a last question that's burning inside of them that they cannot make a decision unless they ask the question?
Vice Chair Walker, this is Heather Vincan, and I just wanted to point something out. Again, this is related to the budget, and it is that I didn't see any contractor but related services mentioned in the budget, and with the new school, you really have no idea what your needs in exceptional children are going to be, and what kind of testing will be required, and it can be very expensive. And then, in addition, there's no overall just general maintenance line item in the budget for just well, it's listed, but it's 0, and I have found that is not going to be realistic. So I just wanted to bring that up to the board.
Yes, ma'am.
I couldn't hear that well, but I know we have someone slided for in the list of teachers and staff who's a EC coordinator currently and has like over 10 years experience in that field. So she will be handling the testing and the facilitation of students with disabilities.
Well, she can't do the
psychological
testing.
Right.
If you have PT, OT, can't do any of that. Can't do speech, and majority of speech is in K2.
Right.
So
she's
those people have to be contracted unless you have them on staff.
Right.
So where is that in the budget?
It will be contracted out. Yes, I do agree with you. The person on staff cannot do all those areas. So we will be partnership with an outside agency who will come in and do that. Yes.
And that's in the budget where?
One psychological test can be $1,000 to $1,500.
You're correct. It was an oversight not putting it in the budget, but we are aware that we will have to contract that, and we're actually working with organization, currently seeking those arrangements with organization who will be pending to come aboard on that. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, let's discuss the board, and the floor is open for any motions anybody wants to make.
Acceleration first.
All right. So let's talk about acceleration then.
I don't see the level of need that is required for example.
Pull your microphone up.
I think Cheryl's just turned around. Cheryl, your microphone.
Oh, is this me over here?
I think.
I don't see the level of need that's required for acceleration. I just don't see I don't see the pressing need. I don't see where what they're wanting to do is so different that it creates new opportunity. And we're certainly not talking about an area that doesn't have any choice, so it's not like it's the first in the county. I don't see the level of need. And I have concerns about the app too, so the idea that we would then do it fast really makes me nervous.
I appreciate the fact that they listened to us last year and reapplied this year. And, it was suggested even that, if all these weaknesses that we had last year are corrected, then you might be considered for acceleration. I appreciate that they took that to heart, but I agree with Cheryl. I'm not compelled that the school is going to be able to open in August.
Yeah, I think my biggest concern with it is the enrollment in a fairly saturated market to have, from the time the state board votes, which will be March, April? April?
Yeah.
But for accelerated?
Yeah, for accelerated.
They'll go in February.
Okay, so we're going to finish up all the accelerated schools this month. So they vote in February, so that gives you 6 months to get to 5 months, 5.5 to try to get 250 students. I think is tough, especially based off some of the survey questions that Linda Lynn asked. So I don't know if acceleration's in the cards there. So does anybody have a motion on acceleration?
I move that we do not approve for acceleration.
Okay, so the motion is that we do not moving forward as an accelerated school, and Linda Lynn seconds that. All in favor, or any further discussion? All in favor of not approving them as an accelerated school, and then we'll discuss the full approval of the application. So, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the school then, it's on the table now, open for motions or discussion. on whether to move the school forward to the state board to go through the ready to open process.
They've already done ready to open. How does that work? They just don't have to do it the second year?
I think they would still,
Yeah, they would have to go through ready to open again.
I think they should.
I mean, I don't feel that this application is ready to open. So I'm not going to be voting for, I really like these people. I think they've shown a big commitment. They've been at all the ready to open sessions. I think they're working hard. It doesn't feel ready. And when the person that's going to be the principal of the school is fuzzy on the reading curriculum, even just knowing we've explored this, and this, we're evaluating this is why, that lack of clarity is really concerning. This is it. This is prime time. You come up, you got to be ready to go. You need to know answers to those questions, and that is concerning. And so I don't think we're ready yet, and I'm not going to be voting to approve it.
The reason I asked about the leadership was because I thought, well, maybe somebody else could explain it better. But when the school leader can't clearly explain the education plan, that's a problem.
We're not ready.
That there's no money for related services when we're already talking about a budget that looks like it's pared down a lot. Related services are expensive. We just hired a speech person because we were paying $100 an hour.
And you're not going to get federal funding the first year.
Nope. It's a lagging fund.
Yeah, and I'm a little concerned that, a lot of the budget questions that came up last year weren't addressed this year either. I would have expected those to at least been addressed.
I have to say I was concerned about the literacy piece on that, especially after the state board meeting last month on the issues of literacy our state's facing, and that's got to be right on target, how they're going to, the approach of that. And even though the application talked about the phonics piece of that, there was nothing mentioned about the phonics piece. It's just Journey. They're going to be using Journey, and
which is a poorly rated reading program.
It definitely doesn't follow research.
Floor is open for any motions.
I'd like to remind applicants that we've had many applications that have been turned back twice, but come back a third time and added, supplemented to the application and been approved the third time. So I would hope that they not get discouraged.
Mr. Chairman, I've been taught that you do not make a motion in the negative. You make a motion to approve and then everybody votes.
I think we have to have some motion that we have passed to send to the state board.
That's what I mean.
Can we clarify that in legal?
Okay, something we passed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because a failed motion is no action.
Okay. Well, I move that we do not send forth this application.
Okay, we have a motion to not move the Clare Science Academy to ready to open status, seconded by Ms. Kroger. Any discussion or debate on that? All right, all in favor, raise your hand or say aye. And all opposed, I'm going to vote no on that motion. But other than that, it looks like it was a, and we need your vote.
Heather.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, so it is, let's see, 10:55, so let's take a 15-minute break. We'll start at 11:10. I know. This is a teacher timer, y'all. This is a teacher timer.
I like staying on task.
That's the only way. It's my new strategy in teaching to you. You got your timer for your activity, then you got your countdown timer. So you can count down. When I taught 5th grade the other day, I put 80 minutes on the clock, and then I have that on the board,
Yeah.
so I can see at any time how much time I have left in the period, because
Otherwise.
you run out.
You don't
run
stay
out,
on task.
you don't close the deal.
I was shocked by reading and see the inability of the lead administrator to explain.
I don't care. They're not ready.
They're not. They really are.
I
couldn't do literacy.
Yeah.
Because you expressed it.
After the report we just had at the state board.
Yeah.
And you don't know what the top.
You don't want Bruce to get negative thoughts right away.
You can find out what the top.
Bruce?
Oh, I know.
Harry, good to meet you formally.
Yeah.
But
An article Sandra Chomsky wrote on literacy.
Concerns are all going to be.
Yeah.
There was a comment about the insurance consistency.
The
K3 literacy piece.
The foundations of literacy. And I could not believe the university's presentations. Talk about a bunch of mumble jumble.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I said, no wonder.
Hour-long presentations.
No wonder we have literacy, what we have in the state. That's a teacher preparation program. And they don't know what to do. But I'll send you Skonsky's.
Sure.
Just so that you have that, because it was excellent. In fact, I'm going to do it right now before I forget.
No, this is the back. This is the back.
It'll get my charge. There's a plug there, right? Will it reach?
Yeah, it's down that way.
5, 6, 7. We can't all be in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Good to see you, Bruce.
Good to see you, Jason.
Glad to have you. No problem.
Yeah, but they're doing pretty well.
So he was our
I'm excited about
I'm true.
I'm gonna sit here, then
I'll sit up front.
Hey, go have a seat.
Where you sit? Left side.
Right here, because I'll get up first. And then everybody will go do their thing. Super Catherine. You feel any better?
I feel a lot better. I mean, I was like not getting out of bed on Saturday, but I can't hear anything. Yeah, which I didn't notice before, but all of a sudden, I can't talk about anything.
Yes.
Well, you're inside.
Well, there was like 2 people who just said their name. They're like, out the door and they walked away. Yeah, we came when they had us. It was like, you know, I'm principal of this. I'm in school of this. You know, they didn't state their current employment. If I state my current employment. Oh, yes, they only have the central so we have 2 venues and also residency.
No,
3 of those theater troops. I'll definitely explain. Oh, I work at Thalian. I got the weird chair. I don't mind at all. Totally right. What's the bigger player house? It's just too huge. The chair. Definitely. I can't do this. No.
Yeah, I think
this really
I think I
when I get up there and say I'm a retired teacher, they'll believe me.
You need retired or you?
I think
What's that?
To the top of mine?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay.
I'll just do the old school.
Then you'll go tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm
I'm very crazy though.
Let me get this email.
What?
And then,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Oh, they got cake here.
Right. Yeah, I got that.
We got it.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Coastal Preparatory, they just opened last year.
Yeah.
They're about 15 miles, well, about 12 miles actually. Okay, that's all like where east. Our location there. There's Pender County? It's not Pender County.
Yeah, it's right over there.
I think so. And then Island Montessori, which they don't put on the map, is.
That's on Carolina Beach Road, halfway.
And these other schools. Those are just all the other ones. And then these are the schools.
See now, see the circle, red circle on the up left? That's right on the line.
On the county line.
Yeah.
And then these are the traditional public schools. Charters? Island Montessori is down. I don't know. The other one. It's because like.
Oh, Montana, Carolina.
Cape Fear Center for Development is the.
Oh.
The one on top of hers? Okay, well, whoever's been answered first.
On top or below? It's right there.
I got it. That's so weird. Lucky those are children water right now. And then this is the road.
What you got Sanders doing today?
He's supposed to be up here at some point, he said.
These citations are
I haven't.
studies.
We're in the midst of deciding what we're going to do with our expansion. And,
It's a compilation.
You have to bring in modulars for next year?
I think we decided on Friday that we were going to get away with one 4-classroom module. We're under contract for 22 acres across the street. So I think we'll be able to get away with 1 year of that. Kind of one down on our enrollment a little bit. We were talking as high as 790. I think we're going to push it down to like 760, 77.
Stuff they say and they're chatting.
The setup costs on just
That's a great question. Yeah, that's what we would probably. First of all, you can't even get them. You're at least 18 to 24 months. So even if the other property was ready, before you probably still need that. We might have to build that in phased then approach.
Sleep, but it's okay.
Charter. 2 8-classroom modules. They actually gave them to the city of Huntersville.
She's trouble getting.
Says $1 billion to send them back up. Still 17 or 18. We could. We're still using them now. New building, we built a new building. We'll be building another one.
I think we're looking at just for that 1 4-classroom about. Speaking of English.
The 3 schools that are listed.
Yeah, it is.
There is a school on Scottsdale.
Sherry, did waters recede under your house?
Yeah. They receded under the house. I think the river level was probably not good on that end. My yard is up. Somebody come in with a bobcat.
It was on your.
Tons of it. Washed it.
Oh. I don't know any of this, just with
Douglas County. Douglas County School. Out there.
So did they actually haul it away, or did they just?
They took it to the mines, and we had like a it's hospital and things like that. I learned that like the one was so hesitant to make any promises. That was one of the things I learned in graduate school.
Oh, yeah.
One of my teachers, my dissertation advisor told me, he said, Emily, like, the last thing I want you to do before you walk on stage, just real quick, just and sure, you know, it's like applause, applause, and then
What time? I said 11:10, right?
Wow.
Okay.
if it was so, I told Ron, so my understanding was she was so ill that she got so, and then Hurricane Florence came and she was infected. She just couldn't. I just want to make sure no one gets up there and says, "Oh, she was itchy last month."
Well, they're getting well.
Right.
But, you know.
I'm sorry, you guys are all sick. I can't get my husband to get it from the
Try to walk out the door.
I haven't had fever in so long.
Oh no, you're gonna.
And you could have been out the driveway.
Oh, I never know.
My only lesson for hours. I want antibiotics. Barely had enough.
I think we'll get the time back at the end of the day, because these two are the same board,
They're good.
Terrible part.
so that means we can just,
We're not looking out right now.
that'll take 5 minutes.
So it overwhelmed?
We know we're gonna take it.
I just felt like, I mean, I know that ALS discussion, I don't know, I was like,
Well, yeah, I would have, but we can bring them in anytime. We can just bring them in. We can bring them in anytime. It's not a large number of kids. Stephen's right. They're gonna be. Oh,
That's sweet.
I'm glad that it's there.
I do think that that's a real
But
thing.
I struggle with calling them parents. They have made that mistake.
What did we get in school allotment today?
You're already in the
I was hoping it was our testing money, but it
That's
didn't
what,
come.
it's not, that's what
It's
I'm waiting
not.
on is the test.
It's not.
What was it?
They made an adjustment by $26 on mine. The test bonus from right, but
All right, we're ready to get started. Let's go ahead.
The applicant coming before the board today is Wilmington School of the Arts. This interview will be led by Chair Alex Quigley. They're proposing to locate in New Hanover County. Their proposed grade levels and projected student enrollment are as follows. Year 1, K through 2, 240 students. Year 2, K through 3, 320 students. Year 3, K through 4, 400 students. Year 4, K through 5, 480 students. Year 5, K through 6, 560 students. There was no LEA impact or due diligence report completed for this application. The pass-fail ratings are as follows. Mission, purposes, and goals, all pass. Education, 4 pass, 1 fail. Governance and capacity, all pass. Operations, all pass. Finance, all pass. This group is requesting an acceleration, and they are a repeat applicant. They previously made it to the clarification round. They did not receive assistance, and they are not intending to partner with an EMO or CMO. They have had representation at every Ready to Open planning year session held thus far.
When you say they made it to the clarification round, did we do a full interview with them? We did, right?
Not last year.
Not you. Okay, we did. Okay.
We did. We
Yes,
did the
yeah.
first time or your
Full
second
last
time?
year, yes.
Second. Well, we got to the full interview last year.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes,
They did two of the interviews.
yes.
Go ahead. Good afternoon. My name is Barry Rice. I'm the chairman of the board of directors. 35 years education, from classroom teacher to central service and central organization to some college teaching.
Good morning. My name is Emily Orr. I'm the board secretary. I am a retired music educator. I am a charter school founder, and I am currently a medical technologist at the NC State College of Veterinary Medicine.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Nagley. I'm the vice chair of the board, and I'm a leadership coach with an education nonprofit.
Good morning, my name is Lily Nicole. I am currently the arts liaison for the board. I also am employed full-time as the Thalian Hall Staff Center for Technical Performance Arts. I'm the assistant technical director there. We host touring companies as well as local community theater companies where they perform musicals. We are the leading performance space in town. I am also the artist services manager there, so I work directly with the artists backstage for set building, for construction, and implement our student enrichment program we have. We do an open theater show for second and third graders locally where they do tours of the theater space and see a live performance where they interact with the artists as well.
Good morning, I'm Joshua Bailey. I'm a member at large with the board, and I've been an educator for 11 years, both in charter schools and in traditional public education.
Good morning, my name's Tom Martin. I'm a retired controller of a private company. I was formerly a CPA, but I'm not any longer. I've let that lapse. I'm the treasurer of the board, and looking forward to a lot of work to do next year.
Good morning, I'm John Westberg, retired teacher, coach, and administrator.
All right. So any specific items that the board would like to discuss with this group?
Separate out acceleration.
Yeah, we can discuss acceleration first. That's fine. The rationale that I saw for the acceleration appeared to be they had a site that was ready and available.
Yeah, it almost seemed to be that if they didn't accelerate, then they were going to lose the facility.
Could someone comment on that?
Is that the case?
We do have a signed lease for a 5-year program, which prior to, that was done just before our application came up. And part of that lease has an opt-out clause. But it is a former school. It's at a church education building. It was a former child care kindergarten program that stayed there a while, and then they moved to Brunswick County. So there'd be a few things for the occupancy permit, but very few things would have to be done.
How long can you stay in that facility? You're starting with 250 kids. How long can you stay there?
We've got a 5-year lease for that program. We can get, I believe it's, John, was it 450? We can get I think we got space for 450. And we've also have 1 or 2 portable classroom sites, but we also have a letter of intent from Schoolhouse Development to locate, find, and construct a new facility after that 5th year, or to be opening that 5th year.
Okay, I thought the application said that they were moving to the permanent facility in year 2. So that's not the case?
Well, if the place that we're looking at, there's a strong possibility we can't. But
You mean property to buy?
no, it was a current facility that is no longer in use. So Coca-Cola facility plant in downtown Wilmington. And if we can do what we want to do with that, we should be able to open there in year 2. But we have not pursued but so much of that, waiting for status of today.
So the initial lease that you have pending is with the church?
No, it's not pending, it's signed.
Signed.
Yes,
So
but it does have an opt-out clause.
Okay, I thought Coca-Cola was the plant.
Okay.
But with that being said, guys, last survey data we had only had, there was 136 respondents to the survey, but of that 136, there was 54 that would be eligible students. So.
Yep.
And in this particular area, in a really close proximity, there's already 4, 5, 6 schools of choice.
As pertains to the acceleration, I would say that I don't feel that this meets the criteria for acceleration. I don't think it meets the threshold for a compelling need, nor do I think the facility, again, as I think about, from my interpretation of compelling need and facility is, you have a facility that's basically
ready to
I mean, I basically think of it as like you're already running a school in the facility, or maybe it's a public school that is converting. Let me give you some examples in my head of how I'm thinking about this. Your existing public school that is about to be closed due to enrollment, who knows, but you are able to convert that school, like Bethel Hill Charter, into a charter school. You partnered with a local university and they want to run a lab school on their campus, and you're able to, the facility is already there, ready to go because they have the space, they're going to give it to you for free. These types of things seem unique and would warrant, hey, we're ready to go, and would warrant an acceleration. Also, as exceptional need to me, I'm thinking about things like you're the only charter in a county. Again, there's a school that's being closed. I think they've made a compelling case for arts, but that to me doesn't. I think the kind of again, I would just impress upon the board the risk associated with acceleration. We've seen a lot of schools barely be able to meet the regular timeline, and those, even one that recently did, we had to close. Whoa.
Good Lord.
Must be Lieutenant Governor. So that's kind of where my head is around the acceleration side of this. Any other questions we want to ask the board about that specifically?
Is there work that has to be done on this building to make it, in order for you to be able to open?
The current building?
Yeah, the church.
Oh, no ma'am, no. No work needs to be done.
So you're ready to just go and put stuff in and go?
Get some furniture in there, and we could function.
So you have this certificate of occupancy already?
Oh, go ahead.
Hi. Good morning. Our understanding is that that certificate does exist, as there was a school that was just occupying that building. It has been used, it's a freestanding education building attached to the church. It's not in a church. It's their own education building, and they are actively seeking to have another school put into that space.
Okay, so then would you be in danger of losing that space if you could not open this August?
Yes, possibly.
Possibly.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the need, if I could. I see up on your screen there the Cape Fear Center for Inquiry, located very close to our proposed location. The Cape Fear Center for Inquiry it's a long-standing charter school. It's been around for about 20 years. They just had their application process, and I wanted to give you some of their numbers. They received 400 applications for 40 kindergarten spots, 22 of which were held for siblings. So actually was 400 applications for 18 seats. And so there are families who are looking for choice in that immediate area. There are 3 other charter schools in New Hanover County. The Coastal Preparatory Academy is almost 15 miles northeast of our location. The island Montessori is about 15 miles south of our location. And if you take the lowest performing traditional public schools in New Hanover County and put them on a map, they are all in a clump right around our proposed location. They are 3F and 2D schools.
Is Douglas on this map?
Douglas isn't on your map. It is one of the schools that we listed as being in close proximity, a charter school in close proximity.
And that school struggled to meet its basic enrollment requirements. We almost had to shut it down because it couldn't get the statutory minimum students, I would remind the board. All of these things are true in terms of some schools have a lot of applications, others do not. And my feeling on this is all good case for a charter school. But not an accelerated.
And we understand all of that. We do feel that if we were given the opportunity, we would be able to fill those seats. In the last few days, New Hanover County Public Schools announced they approved a redistricting plan, and they will be, my understanding is, closing some of those schools in the area of our school and redistricting them out farther. And the response from the community has not been positive.
I'm sure.
At all.
I think my feeling is it's just hard for us to navigate and make those I just think the need has got to be unique and compelling, profound. Yeah, there's also a lab school at UNC Wilmington.
Lab school, there's a couple of magnet schools. Where's GLOW in relationship to this one?
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
GLOW is moving close to our location. However, they are a middle school, and they're also an all-girls school.
But what's your intent? To become a KA?
Eventually.
Right.
I mean, I think everyone that stands up here thinks that they can get the students. I mean, obviously everybody does. And I'm not suggesting that you all won't. I'm just saying.
Oh, no, we will.
Whether or not the timeline is the best. One meets the criteria and is the best kind of decision to make. I think remains. Is in question.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. We've also been working. We're a repeat applicant, as you know, and we've been hard at work the past year, building up community interest. And I have a 10-page list of all of the places that Mr. Westberg has visited, and Lily can speak to the need and the response from the community and their interest for this school. There's a lot of excitement behind this school, and the community they really want to see this school open.
May I ask then a follow-up on that, going back into the survey? I think that you said you want to open with 240. The survey response you got was, forgive me, but about 100 less than that. And then of that response, half of those weren't even qualified to go to the school. So I guess I would like to hear a little bit more about how you know that you can get to that enrollment figure.
We can speak to that.
Sounds like you have a school next to you, near you, that had 400 applications for 22 seats, but you're also a very specialized school. You can't assume that those students are going to be interested in going to the school for the arts. And that's not a criticism of the arts. I love it.
And I understand that. Related to the New Hanover County redistricting, they also, just in the last week, conducted a robocall survey, and they had 1,000 respondents, and 85% of those respondents said that they would send their children to an art school. We don't have the means to contact 1,000.
That came from the district?
We can't. I'm sorry.
Did that?
Yes. The New Hanover County School Board.
So is that an indication that the district's getting ready to open an art school?
They are considering a high school.
It looks like the redistricting is middle and high school students, right?
Yes.
So far, yes.
They've already done some minor redistricting on the elementary, and now they're doing the middle and high.
Can I ask staff, what's been the level of participation of this school in the Ready to Open process?
As far as I know, they've had participation at all of this.
So they've been there. I mean, when we look at acceleration, so it's kind of a two-step process. The first is, do you qualify for acceleration? And then the second is, should you get acceleration, right? So, because it's kind of a two-part in the policy, there's an A and there's a B. And so, I think where we're kind of hung up on is is 1 and 2, which is a clear and compelling need for the accelerated planning year. In my mind, losing a good facility that's a perfect fit for your school could be a compelling need, a clear need to do that. But I think it's number 2 that we're kind of hung up on, is demonstrating an exceptional need for the charter school in the proposed location. Is there something where, it's really going to be a disservice to the students in this area if we don't have an arts charter school open up in August? And I think that's where kind of the hang up is on it. And it's, you have to, these 4 things are yes or no. If you don't hit any of them, then you're not eligible for acceleration. But if you are eligible for acceleration, then there's 8 other factors that we look at too. Then it becomes a balancing test. So, it's kind of a complex policy in that way. You have to meet 4 criteria to be able to even be considered. And I think we're doing a lot of talking here about, whether there's an exceptional need for the charter school in the proposed location. And personally, I think you're making a decent argument when you talk about the layout of the schools and where they are.
If I may address the other list, the Part B, some of the other items that were on your list is the length of time the board has been together. As you know, this is a repeat application. Our board has been together for over a year. The suggestion was made last year to grow and strengthen our board, which we have done. We have chosen our lead administrator, Mr. Westberg, who's been in education for over 40 years. He has founded and operated a charter school. I've founded and operated a North Carolina charter school. We've been through...
What school did you found and operate?
Longleaf School of the Arts here in Raleigh. It's a high school. And between the 2 of us, we've been through the RTO process 4 or 5 times. I've been on the boards of other charter schools. As you know, we have the facility, and I'll let Lily speak to you about there was another item on there about support from area and regional nonprofit organizations, and I'll let Lily speak to that.
Danielle just said this in the chat.
One of the unique things about Wilmington is our general demographic makeup. We used to have a huge incentive with the film incentive, so there was a lot of actors and the filmmakers, the gaff workers, the backstage people. When the film incentives left recently, the people who stayed were the community arts people. So we're still doing a lot of independent films and the stage production. Well, those people are now of age, they're starting to have kids. And so their desire to send their students to a school who focus on the things that they hold near and dear is where this resurgence is coming from. And I know the survey mentioned where it had general interest. One of the things that we laid our survey out was the intent. It wasn't a huge commitment because we were still pending our application process and wondering or not whether we were gonna get far enough. So our survey initially started out with just the interest. Would you guys even send your child to? So that goes to speak on why some of the applicants were not age appropriate yet. Yes, they may have been in pre-K or still in daycare, but their parents were like, if this school was here, this is exactly where my students would go. So that goes to comment why some of the ages were a little bit lower. Our association with nonprofit organizations, I can comment on the advisory board. Thalian Hall is a nonprofit itself, the organization, and our executive director, Tony Rivenbark, is one of the new members of the advisory board. He has stepped up and guaranteed his involvement. I've also reached out to Cameron Arts Museum, which is one of the leading museums there in Wilmington. Donna Moore is an artistic director there as well. She has also agreed her organization will back and commit to being on the advisory board. I am an alumni of UNCW myself. I went through their theatrical program, and 2 of the professors who currently still live in Wilmington and are teaching there have also spoken to their commitment and wanting to help with the advisory board. So the desire to have an art school there is more present for the Wilmingtonians, the people who call Wilmington home, the teachers, the gaffers, the people who didn't leave with the incentives. They want somewhere to send their kids, and currently their kids are finally of the age.
All right. Are we ready to move on to other parts of the application? We're not going to vote right now. We're going to vote on the acceleration later. People want to stay on this topic? We're at 40 minutes. We got 40 minutes remaining.
I think we move on to the application.
Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so mission, purposes, and goals. Any specific questions that people would like to ask the board before we get into the ed plan? No?
I thought the mission
pretty
statement,
clear.
it fit the school perfectly. I mean, it's one of the good applications that
One
I've
of the
seen.
few
for
schools that actually stated clearly what a mission was.
Yeah, and I thought the mission was good, and then if you go down into the education plan, it matches up with the mission. And so many times we see disconnects, so it was refreshing to see a application that had the mission and the education plan match up.
That piece was okay.
Okay, great. Can we talk about the ed plan then? Okay, so I had a couple questions. I thought overall the ed plan was well written. I think I had a few questions about. One was what is the assessment that you're going to use 3 times a year? What diagnostic assessment are you going to use in reading?
Our preference right now is to use STEP. We're still looking to deeper understand wit and wisdom and see which aligns best, but STEP would be the one of choice.
Is that mic working? I can't hear anything anybody's saying.
I don't know. Make sure that y'all speak right into the mic.
What did you say?
STEP assessment. And then I think the key for the ed plan, because so I have another question about ZERN. Do you want to keep answering, Ms. Nagel?
Yeah.
I could tell that you wrote the ed plan, so you can just say it.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Well written ed plan. So for ZERN, I think $30,000 in instructional equipment in the budget. Is that going to be used to purchase the Chromebooks that are required for ZERN?
I'm not the budget expert. Is that?
And what's your sense of how many Chromebooks you need per class?
You need about 10. So kids are half the time in small group on Chromebook, or individually on Chromebook, and then half the time in small group with the teacher.
And what's the class size? 20?
20, yeah.
And so, yeah, well, whenever we get to budget, that's a question I have. Like, is that going to cover the cost for all the Chromebooks and all your other instructional technology? It might, it might not. And then just in general, I think there was a question that I had, and I don't know if other people had this question, is like, how are we going to afford all of the arts components? And maybe can someone walk me through exactly, I'm a student, I'm in 2nd grade. How many times a week am I going to art? What classes am I going to? How are we affording all of those? How many specials does the school have? Like, what does that actually look like?
Yeah, so if you are a 2nd grader, you are going to an arts special every day. You're going to visual arts, drama, why does this always happen to me? Dance and music. And then you're having art activities integrated with the content curriculum. And Josh, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so in addition to the specials where students would take traditional electives, we were focusing on arts integration within the classroom as a way both to do instruction as well as assessment. Looking at the things like the higher order thinking skills within Bloom's requires students to be able to create things as a way to show full understanding. And the arts offers a special kind of a way to do that, because you can have students create something within dance or music or theater or the arts that would show their understanding within their reading or math or science or social studies classes as well. And then you can use those things through performance tasks or performance-type learning styles as a way to assess as well as instruct through your normal classes. So students would receive specific training within the arts within their specials classes, but then those same skills would be used as a way to assess and integrate those skills into the arts as well within the normal classes.
Okay, and so how many art teachers or arts people are literally going to be on salary at the school? Talk full-time, half-time, what are we talking about?
In the first year, we're looking at having 4 part-time, or if we can have somebody who is dual certified within 2 of the arts fields to have, their a full-time position, in those first few years.
How will 4 teachers?
Oh, and we also will have an arts coordinator position that's there as a way to support both the classroom teachers and those teachers who are doing the specials in the integration process. This would be a position from somebody who has both educational experience within the arts and in traditional education, who can help write curriculum and can support the staff in professional development and in code planning time to help with that integration process.
How many sections per grade level would you have? How many classes per grade?
4.
Okay. So those 4 art teachers would, they're not gonna have
12
PE, they're just gonna have art?
They love
No.
PE.
It's 12 classes. So it's 3.
So we would have, in the first year, we would have 3 grade levels, 4 classes per grade. So I call them events, 12 arts events that would happen over the course of a week. So that wouldn't be for full-time positions, not in the first year. If you look at the budget, those part-time arts positions grow to be full-time positions by the time the student numbers would fill those classes. And we also are having health and PE.
You have 5 events, so one teacher's gonna teach 2 events?
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, you're 5 days in the week. So that's a different elective each day?
Correct. We failed to mention health and PE as one of those.
Oh,
So
okay, I thought she mentioned 5 arts.
for arts, health and PE. So they would have one of these classes per day.
So this is $110,000 in part-time teachers, is that what we think these people are?
Yes.
Approximately, yes, sir.
In the first year.
So that's divided by 5.
In a perfect world, we would find someone who was duly experienced or certified in more than one arts area, but those teachers are difficult to find.
But wouldn't that not solve the problem? Because you've got to cover in order to, like, they've got, I mean, that person would not be able to teach 2 classes.
At the same time.
Like, you got to, that's how you're going to give the kids the planning, or give the teachers their planning period, right?
They'll have common planning
It'd be a
time.
half day. Those teachers would be either AM or PM.
Well, because I'm just looking like you have 5 part-time teachers, but in 12 classroom teachers, 6 teacher assistants. What grades are the teachers' assistants going to be in?
K only. No, K1.
So K1, because okay, and
4
then
in kindergarten, 1 in first grade, 1 in second grade.
which is it?
The teacher assistants.
Teacher assistants. 4 in kindergarten, 1 in first grade, 1 in second grade.
Because you have 4 kindergarten classes.
Yes.
Okay, I thought we said 3 per grade level.
4.
4 in kindergarten. Okay, so if that's the case, but okay, and then who are the specials teachers? The part-time teachers?
Yes.
So you're gonna have a part-time PE teacher too?
Excuse me?
You'll have a part-time PE teacher because you don't have any other specials teachers reflected in the budget.
No. It
So
would
it's
be
gonna
phys
be-
ed, music, art, dance, and theater.
Okay. And they're all part-time, so they'll teach like,
They teach half a day. Most part-time teachers teach either morning or afternoon, and we would schedule the students by where the teacher's available, morning or afternoon. Now, if we get a dual certified teacher, they can teach 1 in the morning, say music in the morning and art in the afternoon, and just rotate all the way through.
Then how do your teachers have common planning time?
Excuse me?
How would your grade level teachers have common planning time?
They have common planning time during the arts classes or the phys ed class.
Don't you need 4 arts classes running at a time? To cover all 4 classes?
No, we don't have them running all at the same time.
So all of second grade wouldn't have arts at the same time?
No, they might have art, they might have phys ed, they might have,
Well, that's what I mean, special, so let me.
Yeah. Elective.
So all 4 second grades would go to specials at the same time?
correct. Yes, ma'am.
So then you would need.
3 second grades. There's 3 second grades.
4.
correct?
4 of
I think I
everything.
misspoke. I think I said 3. I shouldn't have
Okay,
said
there's
3.
4.
4K, 4,
Okay,
1,
got it.
4, 2.
Okay.
At the same time, this one would be
Right, we will not need 4 art teachers. They will be consecutive, In other words, one class will be taking phys ed, one class will be taking art, one taking music, and the other taking dance.
When she said art, she meant electives.
Yes, ma'am.
More electives will be occurring at the same time, so, I think the point was that the elective teachers have to have common, where you said you would work to where they could work, whether morning or afternoon. 4 of them have to have the same either morning or afternoon so that you can send a grade level at the same time.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think the reason we're asking so many questions about this is because so much is kind of laid
Different
upon.
and new.
What's that?
Different and new. Yes.
It's not that. It's not that different.
I know.
I think it's just because if you're gonna do all the arts integration, this is one reason why people don't do it, because it's actually expensive. To kind of get to find people that want to work part time. Although artists, sometimes it can be more you might have better luck with that.
Well, from our research, we think we have that pretty much covered. It's a part-time job, half a day. At first, they do not have to be certified if you're a half-time teacher.
Right.
So that will help us immensely. Second year, we're going to have to, as you look in our budget, we're going to have to look for certified teachers, or have those teachers that did the work the first year become certified.
Okay.
My question on the dual certification, there was a statement in the application about EC, and they were hoping to have one dually certified exceptional children's teacher per grade level. Can you explain how that's going to work and the probability of that happening?
Can you clarify that first interview?
I don't remember. It was poorly worded on our part.
I think that was a poorly worded answer on our part, and I think we clarified it in the first meeting we had with you. But we'll go back and.
I think by grade level we meant elementary, middle, and high. We didn't mean for every single grade.
Okay, that makes better sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Again, I would say that the ed plan, the curricular choices are strong. I don't think you have enough time. I think there are 3 days. There was only 3 days of staff development in the beginning. I mean, how are we gonna create a culture for a new school and teach people how to integrate arts and Wit and Wisdom and Zern are take a lot of Zern less than Wit and Wisdom, but how are we going to do all that in 3 days?
I believe we have 15 days of training. If you look in the appendix.
No, I'm talking about before school starts.
Yes.
2 weeks. 15?
2 weeks.
2
prior
weeks.
to school starting.
Okay.
And it's outlined minute to minute, day by day.
Okay. I had some questions about other people. Feel free to jump in here. I don't want to be the only one asking questions. Does anyone want to talk about budget or anything like that?
I thought the budget was close, but I thought it was certainly doable. I didn't think it was, out of the realm of possibilities. And I would defer to somebody more like Lynn than myself, but I think she passed the budget as well.
Yes, and
so.
they had made changes based on last year. Some of the suggestions that we made last year, they had addressed those. They addressed all those.
It felt top heavy to me for 240 kids. You have an executive director, assistant principal, director of operation, art, and an arts coordinator. Could someone kind of explain why have?
Well,
No
Tom
counselor.
Martin, it may be a little top heavy. This is a success budget. That in year one that we're going to have all 240 students. We're going to have the full staff that we want. This says that we can afford to have an ED, ops manager, and an assistant principal, and an arts coordinator, and some clerical staff. But if we come up a little bit short, you asked us to run a break-even analysis, and based on this budget, it's pretty tight. But if we come up at break-even level, we do have some room to economize. You know, we maybe can get by without one of the clerical people. We can maybe get by without an assistant principal the first year, but we'll have to spread that work amongst the other people on staff. So that's kind of where we have margin for error.
I mean, I would like to see you do that now. You know, because I think you can make a strong case that with 240 kids, and you choose between a AP and a director of ops.
Yeah.
You know, you could.
And we're having those conversations, but you know where we are right now is we got to get through this process, and certainly when we get down to the brass tacks of how's this actually going to work, we need to have those discussions, because part of it's driven also by, well, who are your candidates, who's available. You know,
What is the arts? Sure. What is the arts coordinator going to do?
The arts coordinator is central to the mission of the school. Our core belief in this, in the founding of the school, is that arts have a long-term impact on the education of children.
I would pay that person.
And
I would pay that
that's
person
one
more.
position I'd really
Get
like
rid of
to
your
take.
AP.
That job is central to the school. That
Which
person's
I
making
think that
less
makes
than a
sense.
teacher.
That's innovative. No,
Yeah.
not many schools have that. I would
Especially
cut your
full-time.
AP
How about
and
we change that when we post
make
it?
that person should be coaching teachers on arts-based instruction.
Yeah, we've made kind of some adjustments to the arts coordinator view because it is so central to our mission and guidelines. It is going to be an instructional position, something that would be used to train teachers in implementation, to observe and support teachers within the classroom, and help in that co-planning time and with that arts integration category. That teacher will also be responsible for developing the arts coordinator will also be responsible for developing curriculum, forming partnerships with local community to bring in visiting artists and set up things like that for our teachers, as well as help plan with field trips to local art museums or things like that. And will also help support in the operation of the after-school program. So it is a full-time position. It's also an instructional position, and with that, we have increased the range to an instructional pay grade. So you'd be looking at years of experience and things like that with for that position.
I would just echo the sentiments on the budget related to administration. I'm intimately familiar with the current school with 600 students, and we have 2 administrators.
Yeah.
This is a third of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier to afford those people once you have a large, because you get economies of scale of 300, 400 kids, you get, it's a lot more affordable. The question about just on the budget, the technology, is that going to pay for the Chromebooks?
Yes.
To run Zern?
Yeah, it's Chromebooks. It's also doing some wiring work on the facility. We have a contractor lined up to do that, basically getting what we need for both the classroom technology and the office technology.
Okay, well, while we're talking about budget, you have $20,000 budgeted for transportation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're projecting 52% low-income students, I think. I don't know, the application's kind of run together.
One thing
sometimes.
says 25 to 50%.
Seeing some nods.
And the other said they're.
You're doing a weighted lottery, so you're
50%.
expecting low-income students. Generally, those students ride the bus, we could say more so than not. So how are we gonna have one bus for what would be like 120, give or so? Because that assumes only the low-income kids. I mean, everybody wants to ride the bus a lot of the time, so.
Since we've submitted the application, we have started to articulate an agreement with the Boys and Girls Club. They are going to let us use their buses. How many buses do they have?
It's all contract.
And that wasn't something we were aware of at the time.
For free?
No, we have to contract it.
Right, but at $20,000, I mean, you can't pay a
I'm
bus
sorry.
driver
There
salary.
would be work done on our part. There would be individuals from our school that would be volunteering with their program, and helping to enrich their program in exchange for use of their. They're not using their buses during the day because it's an after-school program, so they're happy to put those buses to use before school and getting students. I think they hope to their facility after school by using their buses.
So
Are they yellow bus buses?
I don't know.
No.
They're activity buses?
Yes.
Will you be paying their drivers to pick up your students?
I'm not intimately familiar with the details of the
Well,
agreement. We
what's
don't-
the plans? I mean, because this is important. You know, I think it speaks to how committed you are to low-income kids. Like,
Yeah,
what's the plan?
As you sense, we don't have that detail nailed down, but I think we would be paying, you know, so an hourly wage for a driver and fuel costs, those kind of things.
Plus wear and tear on the buses?
Well, that's the point. They're donating buses. That's the wear and tear.
I thought they were the boys and girls buses. Aren't they going to say you got to pay us to rent these buses?
No, I believe that what the
they're
deal
donating
is
them
there's
in
going to be
exchange
some
for
cross.
So it sounds
we're
like
gonna
this
help
is like
them
an
out as well as
early.
them help
This
us.
is like a new idea that you're kind of fleshing out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the technology in the classroom, is that a Chromebook for every student, or how many?
Yeah, it's
10 steppers.
What's the ratio?
2 to 1.
2 to 1. It's 100. I'm on the wrong page. I'm looking at statistics. No, it's 3 to 1. It's 80 Chromebooks, plus we have laptops for teachers. We have a couple of office computers and softwares, copiers, stuff like that.
Okay, just $30,000 doesn't go far. This would be my comment.
From our guy.
Yeah, that and let me back up here. I got too many pages. Unless counting people are. Okay, that's for the classroom technology. So that's just the Chromebooks and the laptops for the teachers. And we have a quote. I guess they're refurbished equipment and stuff, but it's $28,000 for the Chromebooks. We also have a quote from the guy to do the installation and stuff that comes under the IT services is $12,000.
That's for wireless?
That's, yeah, the kind of the needs of the school, the wireless and to where we have to pull wire and that kind of thing. Server.
All right. Is Mr. Westberg, are you going to be the principal of the school or the executive director?
I am.
Okay. Could you come up for a few minutes?
Sure.
Could you tell us a little bit about your background and your experiences?
Well, I've been a teacher and a coach. I started as a coach and a teacher in Virginia. I then moved to New York, and I was a teacher there for 20 years. I taught English, health, and phys ed, and just about anything else they threw my way. I've been in Title I schools most of my career. I got my first administrative job in Virginia as an assistant principal, and from there I moved to North Carolina and was in assistant principal in Leland, which is close to Wilmington, which got me interested in starting a school in Wilmington. And from there I've been high school principals. I started a charter school, Northeast Carolina Prep.
Were you the founder of that school?
I was.
Why did you leave?
The board changed.
Okay.
I think you understand that.
I don't know.
What's that?
I don't know. What do you mean?
Well, you know, when people come and go, there's usually a reason. And I was hired as a principal for specific reasons in various parts of the state by a superintendent. And usually I was sent to a school that needed to be helped. And when the superintendent leaves, you're left out on a limb. So that's why I moved from place to place. But I guess my career is helping schools and getting in, doing the dirty work, and then paying the price afterward. And I understood that. And that's just part of being an educator. I believe that this school has the most potential of any school I've ever been at. This community needs it. We talk about the survey, but you have to remember that for about 4 or 5 weeks, there was no internet in Wilmington. They could not fill out the survey. They could not do the things that we needed to have happen. We could not get out and do things to promote the school. But if you look at our advisory board, these are top-notch individuals within the county and within the state and the nation. And they believe strongly that this is something that we need to have in Wilmington. Now, there's no surprise that all of a sudden last Monday, New Hanover County comes out with a survey about a school of the arts. They just came out of the air? I don't think so. Okay? You know, charter schools are different. Charter schools have the ability to do things that public schools cannot do. And we have that ability. And I think that a lot of people in Wilmington are looking for us. They know this board is a tremendous board. I mean, we couldn't ask for anything better. So I believe that this is a school that needs to happen soon because of the community, because of the schools that surround us that are D's and F's that are being moved out of Wilmington, the city proper, out into the county. We are committed to having a school in the city of Wilmington. That's hard work. You know that. I know that. It's not going to be easy. But we're prepared to do the job and make this a fine school.
Great.
I really appreciate what you guys do here. I understand how difficult it is to make these decisions. But again, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to kind of close discussion with the board. We have 13 minutes remaining. You know, it's a well-written application. I think it's improved. I think there's, you know, I had some questions on the budget. I think the transportation, you know, I want people to be better prepared to be able to answer those questions and, you know that we're going to ask those questions and be ready to ask them. I think, you know, I think having an arts coordinator is cool. It sounds like the partnership with this nonprofit group and the individual that's on the board that talked about that seems legitimate and real. You know, they have some very strong board members. You know, selected good curriculum. I'm not there on acceleration. I think, you know, I'm getting closer on, you know, giving them the green light to move forward, which once it's approved by the state board, you know, the school is going to open. Then it becomes their responsibility to open the school. I think it is a difficult case to make before the state board for acceleration. And that's the position that I am in, and that we have to be able to justify to the state board the rationale behind acceleration. And I can guarantee you the question that's going to come back, because I just talked about it with them, is, you know, why are we accelerating schools when we're having to close ones that could not open on a regular timeline, and you have, you know, 8 delays of schools that said that they, you know, were ready to open on the regular timeline. So, and I'm willing to make that case, and on our behalf when we feel when we're 100% certain that's the right case to be made. I just think we want to make sure we're really clear. That's all. So that's kind of where my head is. I don't know where other people are thinking.
I mean, to me, there's no question. I think the school should move forward to the ready to open process. My concern does come up with the acceleration too, and I don't want to totally discount the idea of the facility. You know, the facility seems like a very good facility. It seems like where they need to be to start this school out, and that's really what tugs me one way or the other is if we don't do an accelerated, do they lose the facility? But, you know, I think that's something that hopefully that they can work out with the people, because, you know, from the discussion, it doesn't sound like it's going to be accelerated. I'm kind of tending towards accelerating it, but I do think too, I see where Mr. Quigley's coming from. As our chair, he gets to stand up in front of the State Board of Education, and they're going to pepper him probably harder than we peppered you about acceleration as to why to do this, and it's going to be tough, and I'm going to be there to back him up, but that doesn't, you know, it's going to be a tough thing, And I don't want that to somehow jeopardize the school opening at all. And I guess that's kind of where I'm going back and forth. If it was like, you know, if there wasn't another charter school in a 15, 20 mile radius of it, and it was, you know, and it was
First one in the county.
First one in the county, or if it was, you know, there was this, you know, great need. And I do think that there's a need, and I think you're there. I guess, you know, I feel like you probably meet Section A, but then when I'm weighing it, I don't know if we're to that point that we would accelerate the school. So that's kind of where I'm sitting on it.
I don't think that there's a lot of sentiment on the state board to, you know, I don't think they're compelled by a charter nonprofit being in a position to secure a good building. I don't think that they could care less about that.
I don't think they're going to care about it as much as I do.
Right. Yeah. That's not going to hold any weight. So I think that what we just at a global level, what I think we want to be careful. What we don't want to have happen is where we bring accelerations before the state board and they either say nope, and it gets kicked all the way back to us for a whole nother review, or it's ultimately we work at their behest, so they could decide how to treat it any kind of way. I would like it when it is an acceleration. I think as much as possible, you know, it's a good vote to have as unanimous as possible, or as close to unanimous as possible, because it sends a strong message. We believe 100% that this school is ready, and I presented to the board last week and basically said, we have a bunch of accelerations. If we bring you one, we need your stamp, and we needed action on, I guess it's action on first read, because we don't want them to delay. So we're asking them to approve and to actually act then and there, or with, you know, at that meeting, to move that school forward. So the schools that we do approve get to know, they know right away, and they can start their process. So I think I'm weighing all these things around acceleration and
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
With respect to acceleration, I think we're agreed that this is a board with gravitas. It's got some board members here that have successful charter school board experience, and we've got a lot of education folks on this board. And this idea of 51% free and reduced lunch, introducing this arts creative component, this is kind of a new addition to the equation here, and then factoring in the fact that Superintendent Markley in New Hanover County, all of a sudden it dawns on he and his board that this may be a great approach to this at-risk, high-poverty demographic. I think there's some need here on acceleration before New Hanover County Schools decides to do this, and then this application gets delayed a year, and then that board changes its mind, and Superintendent Markley decided, you know, the heat is off now. This could be a catalyst to help New Hanover County Schools also, if we go ahead and push for this acceleration on this particular charter school. And, you know, this idea of too many other charter schools around it, to me, it's irrelevant in this question. This is a great application, in my view, and a great mission, and a fairly solid financial plan, and you've got the experience on this board to make the changes. I'd hope that we seriously consider this for acceleration and push to get this school going in Wilmington, and they're committed to downtown Wilmington.
I agree that it's a good application. I think that when we start looking at acceleration, we should be looking at compelling need, and I just don't see that. I don't see the urgency and urgency need here. I absolutely think the school ought to open. I think they have everything in place to be a good school, but I think they need to do it on the timeline.
I appreciate all the comments being made as I sit here and I think about acceleration, meaning are they capable, and is there the compelling need to open up, and can they just logistically do it by this fall? And I think there's a lot of key elements that they have in place. They've got a facility, number one. They've got an experienced potentially an experienced leader of the school who's led other schools. They've got board members who've opened other schools. My concern would be the enrollment, but then I also think back to, you know, if they're given the confidence of accelerating, that's their job to find that enrollment. And if they don't, well, I guess they'd be back for asking for a delay of opening.
Well,
That's
not everybody does that.
That's
Not
true.
everybody does that.
Yeah, and
I guess I'm just, I'm kind of leaning, honestly, with Mr. Walker and Mr. Hawks about just, you know, do I think they have the pieces in place that if they were given a green light to say, you got it, go for it through August, I think that they could probably, I don't know. I don't want to be so bold to say if they can't do it, I don't know who will be able to do it, but that doesn't necessarily address the.
And this doesn't go just directly to this school. I mean, as far as acceleration goes, I think it's one of those things where you use a tool that's in the toolbox, but if it breaks one time, sometimes you start looking for another tool. And I guess the thing is if we approve a school for an acceleration and then they come back, I mean, I'm going to be so irritated if an acceleration school comes and asks for a 1-year delay. I mean, it would be so, I'm just be like, you know, what's the point? You know, just don't ask for accelerated if you can't do it. You know, if you can't get it right away. And if we do have an accelerated school that we end up having to close for not meeting enrollment, you know, then the question will be, will we ever accelerate a school again? And so, I mean, I think we've got to be pretty clear that that's what we do. You know, and that's why I'm on the fence about this, is because do I think they could do it? Yeah, but I mean, I almost feel like I should be positive that they could do it without a planning year before I would vote to accelerate.
I mean, I'm not afraid of, you know, I will present whatever this board presents the state board. I just think that they're going to have very much in the forefront of their mind the fact that they just voted to close a school mid-year that did not make enrollment. And I got some questions right after the meeting about why are we trying to accelerate? We're already taking a risk with charters. Why are we trying to accelerate schools? Why are we trying to accelerate the timeline and put more pressure? I'm just saying, at the end of the day, the decision's not ours. Like, we're making a recommendation. I just want to make sure when we bring that recommendation, it is really clear that this is a unique circumstance and the need is compelling. That's why I don't feel like I can vote for that. But I would love someone to make a motion. We're about 2 minutes. It sounds like we're in a really good place about the application as a whole for ready to open. I'm excited about that. Yeah, but we got to do both. So, and I'm happy we could do it in the reverse order and approve them and then talk about acceleration.
Well, I move we recommend to the state board that this school be approved.
I'll second.
Ready to open?
All right, so it's been properly moved and seconded for ready to open on the regular timeline right now. That doesn't mean we haven't considered. We are going to vote on acceleration, so we have to. So all in favor of that recommendation? Okay, motion carries. Congratulations, you all. That's a big deal.
Now let's talk about when it's going to open.
Yeah. Well, one question, since I got this board in a lot of this mess here by, you know, telling schools, I'll admit it, you know, I thought they had a very strong application to begin with. I thought they had a unique mission in an area that has a great need, and I think our good friend Superintendent Markley, who was on this advisory committee with us a few years back, if some of you may remember, is a very savvy, you know, person who understands what needs are. If he's recognizing a need for something like this, he's verifying what they're trying to do. The one question I have is, how many of the members have been regularly attending the RTO training processes so far? Do we have that information? 1, 2, 5,
all
everybody?
except the first one, we were not notified at the sufficient time to get anybody to the first one.
It wasn't the case of not being notified. The accelerated applications weren't allowed to go to the very first one because we had
And how many of the members attended?
They had at least one.
All but one.
All of them. Not every one of them attended every meeting, but somebody from their board attended every meeting.
Yes.
Running up on time here. I just think, you know, the other thing is, like, as they were talking about, I mean, Wilmington has been, like, you know, put on permanent hold for like 2 months. I mean, I feel like it's, if anything, it's like, wouldn't it require more time? I don't know. Someone should,
I'll
I'm
float this out. I'll make a motion. I move that we recommend to the state board that they open on an accelerated, under the acceleration policy.
All right, discussion on the motion.
The
We've had a
motion
lot
was
of discussion.
to recommend acceleration?
Yes, sir.
Would you think less of me if I changed my mind on the acceleration?
Alan.
Alan, you want to ride
Yes,
home?
you always.
All right, any discussion on the motion? All right, let's call for a vote and see where we're at. All right, all in favor of the motion to accelerate Wilmington School of the Arts? All right, all against? Okay, the motion does not carry at this time.
Then, Mr. Chair, I move that we recommend to the state board that the Wilmington School of Arts opens on a regular, ready-to-open status.
I second it.
All right, all in favor? All right, motion carries. Y'all have successfully navigated this process. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Does anybody want to take Alan home?
Just change his mind anyway.
We're gonna break for lunch now, and we're